Chapter 575, Explosive. Chapter 575, Explosive. Exalted Double Dragon? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. It sounds like it's connected to the Double Dragon Gathering. Elder Yuan nodded. Haha, the Double Dragon Gathering is something Double Dragon Manor set up. You'll know of its importance in due time. Exalted Double Dragon is the leader of Double Dragon sect. Be it the 9 dragons' diamond body or 10 dragons opening the heavens, they all came from them. It is the source of the highest martial arts in Western lands. Calling them the top of Western lands isn't without reason. What about Dan Qingxin then? Wasn't he the best in Western lands? Zhuo Fan asked. Elder Yuan shook his head. What if I told you Dan Qingxin was Exalted Double Dragon's only disciple? Dan Qingxin came from Double Dragon Manor. Those two were visionaries that never took disciples. Even to otherworldly talents, all they did was guide them. The only exception being Dan Qingxin, the genius seen once every 10 millennia, to whom they both poured their heart and soul into teaching. He exceeded his masters and became the best in Western lands. But because of a falling out which threw Western lands in chaos, Dan Qingxin left without a word. That's why the best in Western lands is Exalted Double Dragon. Elder Yuan sighed. Exalted Double Dragon might not even want this title, having lost such an amazing disciple they might never meet again. Zhuo Fan eyed Elder Yuan and nodded. Few are those that can see the diamond in the rough. While a true eye for talent might not even find the most dazzling gem of them all. Having been a master himself, Zhuo Fan understood the desire to pass on one's legacy. Elder Yuan calmed his sorrow and said, Steward Zhuo, by seeing the Earth Dragon soul on you last time I surmised you'd want to attain the 10 dragons opening the heavens. The dangers are great and even your soul might be at risk of annihilation from the dragon power, but with your talent you can give it a try. It's lucky that you're in the profound heaven stage and will take some time to reach ethereal stage. Just gather the 10 dragon souls. I got 9? Zhuo Fan scratched his head. Elder Yuan was flabbergasted. Why, you have 9 earth dragon souls? All tucked away in my body. Now all I have to do is get the 10th and see if the 10 dragons opening the heavens is worth it. Zhuo Fan rubbed his chin in thought, disregarding the incredulous look from Elder Yuan as he said, You have 9 dragon souls inside you yet you still have not refined them? Don't you fear being devoured? By who, those cowardly reptiles? Zhuo Fan snorted and revealed the azure flame. Elder Yuan, I've told you before, this soul flame targets the soul. I just use it to turn those reptiles into meek little earthworms. You might as well say they're sealed. Zhuo Fan grinned and Elder Yuan was speechless. The great 9 dragon souls were actually chilling in his body? That's the same as caging 9 dragons. No matter how sturdy the cage, they'll still lash out like savage beasts and tear you from the inside. Yet Zhuo Fan had them standing in the corner like weak lambs. Elder Yuan was still out of it. What is this azure flame to quell the deadly earth dragon soul? I got them back in Chanyu from someone training in 9 dragons diamond body. I was considering using the 9 dragons diamond body to enter the ethereal stage but abandoned the thought as it made my cultivation unstable. Now that I've heard of the 10 dragons opening the heavens, I can only rejoice at my right decision to wait it out. Zhuo Fan smiled. Elder Yuan nodded and sighed. Steward Zhuo, your farsightedness is beyond anything I know. I would have long since entered the ethereal stage if I were you. Why, thank you. Zhuo Fan felt much freer now. In his past life he never thought of achieving the Heaven Dragon Soul, but now that he had the Dragon Souls, his luck truly was off the charts. In a fortnight, a shocking event took the demon scheming sect by the storm. Venerable Qi and Venerable Bai as well as hundreds of oldies petitioned Xia Wuxia to be transferred to the labor office to supervise it. Their disciples were to follow as well. Venerable Shi suffered a crushing blow, finding himself in an inner sect with a third of his original forces. It followed with many known inner disciples requesting sect leader to leave their brutal disciple-killing masters for the labor office. They were in the thousands. The requests of the disciples and the old-timers was explosive news, crushing the inner sect oldies' agreement of working together. The peace had held for 2 weeks and then crumbled so fast Venerable Shi's faction had no way of retaliating. Xia Wuxia was over the moon. His ever-sour and grumpy mood uplifted as he stamped the requests with his seal of approval. The giddy look coming from him screamed, I'm the mastermind. Since he never showed such a bright smile to anyone. It only attested to how right they were in taking this course. With the sect leader behind them, their ex-masters couldn't touch them. The inner sect's new trend was such a rage that it infected the outer sect as well, and the disciples marched into the labor office's open arms regardless of the executives' meddling. It resulted with the executives being split into two camps, pro-migration and against it. The sect was on the brink of war. What was once a united group for the common good and benefits, some of them just took off, leaving the rest hanging. Crack. An exquisite piece of china lay there in pieces, suffering the wrath of Venerable Shi, Venerable Qi, Venerable Bai. Damn them all. They threw us all away and went to that damn labor office in public. The inner sect's rise and fall depends on all of us. The two might hate us, but they aren't so stupid to not see the bigger picture. Why then? Grand Elder mused. Venerable Shi's face was a mask of rage, panting and confused how it had come to this. Second Elder rushed in with panic. Those that have changed sides in public are all tied to those wretched venerables. While Kuei Lang, Yu Ling and a few other known disciples organized in secret and waited for the right chance to explode into action. They played us. What's the use of stating the obvious now? I only want to know who put them up to this. It's been so long under wraps that it had to be premeditated, but sect leader's character is known to be watched within the sect. No one wants to play with the bull and get the horns. He always does things with an iron fist and forgoes subtleties. Who is responsible for setting them on this path? Find him out. Venerable Shi glared at the second elder. Shuddering, the old man reported, Venerable Shi, I have been listening, and sect leader isn't the one who got them to act. It was Zhuo Fan, the one everyone calls Steward Zhuo, the founder of the elite labor office. The same one who interfered with the inner sect competition? Venerable Shi asked. Second elder bobbed his head. Yes, him. They say he is incredible, a power unlike any profound heaven cultivator should have. We've caught a glimpse of it in that ring. But what is even more frightening is his calculative mind, his insidious plots, paling even sect leaders. While sect leader uses force, he employs a softer touch. The carrot and the stick. Besides the two venerables, regardless of who he meets, elder, venerable or disciples, anyone who had even a modicum of discontent with us were incited to turn on us. Through rewards and threats, they all caved in the end to his mind games. How is it that you know so much about what they talked about? Venerable Shi eyed him. Second elder sighed. I went to visit an elder that switched to the labor office to find more information, only to be cursed and berated, saying something about taking his female disciple a decade ago, and that I even flaunted it in his face. That we are now enemies. He also has a vile temper, and in his rant he revealed how the kid antagonized him against us with a few honeyed words. I then realized that the kid not only uncovered past grudges but also gave them an 8th grade pill. I reckon that was what sealed the deal. An 8th grade pill. Why didn't he come to me as well? I'd come willingly. Second elder sighed in greed. Venerable Shi snorted. Why would he come to you when he was after those unreconciled people? He'll never trust you, knowing you stuff your pockets by emptying mine. We are the true winners in the inner sect. It is our turf. Or would you rather be without a home and at another's mercy? Second elder chuckled. Yes, he'd go for the pill, but would soon be coming back, recalling where he left his cash cow. Zhuo Fan, a mere laborer of exceptional skill. I have no choice but to meet you myself. Venerable Shi squinted. Chapter 576, Warning. Chapter 576, Warning. Make sure you know your limits before stepping into the heaven door. Even I had a high risk of dying. Kuei Lang stood there with an inquisitive look before the rumbling door, and just as he took a step, a voice entered his ears. He saw Guihu standing before the door with disdain. Kuei Lang hesitated. Senior brother Guihu, don't try to scare me and just tell me how dangerous it is. Since my son cleared a 7th grade array, I can do it too. I'm not so stupid to fall for your threats. Guihu rolled his eyes and ignored him. Your funeral. Kuei Lang was stuck between advancing and retreating. It was then that Kuei Gang rushed over. Don't do it, Dad. You'll die. Even senior brother Guihu had to pay a heavy price. Kuei Lang was scared away. You mean he was serious? Is this 7th grade array that deadly? Master has set it up specifically to test elites. It's unlike the one I trained in. Kuei Gang nodded with a serious look. His brow soaked. Kuei Lang sighed and wiped it before going for the earth door and asking, Son, is this safe? This one's easier. Senior brother Tai Ing cleared it at the peak profound heaven stage. If I can't get a 7th grade demonic treasure, I guess 6th grade is better than nothing. Kuei Lang grinned excitedly. In his charge for the door, he heard a wail coming from it. Son, this one isn't easy either, I see. Yu Ling and her sister were just coming over and giggled at him. It was a scene most common of late before the 4 doors in the sect's cemetery. With the oldies from the inner sect came so many disciples, the labor office was packed. The lines to challenge the trials were never ending. Everyone was excited to jump right in. Everyone wanted those demonic treasures and pills guaranteed to them once they cleared a door. Such a treatment surpassed even the inner sect. The oldies were giddy too. The easier the gains for their disciples, the more they got in the end as well. The greed was so thick in their heads that they'd be testing themselves too if they could, just to get those goodies. Venerable Bai nodded again and again with a smile. This is why every disciple rushed to Steward's elite labor office like crazed shoppers. I'd brave offending my own master too if I could get in here, but I'm not a disciple anymore. All that matters in the end is personal strength. No matter where you can raise it, even in the labor office, that is the best place to be. Venerable Bai is right. The other old guys bobbed their heads. Zhuofan smiled and pointed at the doors in succession. Elders, venerables, the elite labor office isn't the inner sect. It's not based on competition but trials. Each one of you is free to guide your disciples, but the result may not necessarily be in their favor. In these trials, strength isn't the definitive answer for overcoming them. That's good. Now there will be no need to play tricks for those little resources. It will be the best thing for the disciples' cultivation. Venerable Qi laughed. The rest agreed. They were losers in the inner sect, being robbed of their disciples through all kinds of weird accidents. While here, in this pure environment, they were free and laughing. Venerable Bai took a moment to ponder, then his eyes lit up. The elite labor office uses trials so the disciples do not resort to petty tricks. The 4 trials are fair. But as people are lazy by nature, few hardly consider themselves the opponent, driving to better themselves. That's why the inner sect adopted competition as a solution to raise tough disciples. While the labor office uses trials yet still manages to instill excitement into them for cultivation with its large reward as a lure. But to put it in effect, a huge amount of resources are needed. Steward Zhua, I don't know where you got so many resources to implement this plan, but it can't go on forever. When the resources dry up, won't we return to the same situation as in the inner sect? The oldies turned to Zhuofan. Zhuofan hid a smile. Venerable Bai has a good head on his shoulders. Yes, the reward is only temporary to squash the inner sect and steal their authority. Once the inner sect is done for, every high disciple will be in the labor office and I can do whatever I want with it and not bleed money every day. The high rewards would have to stop and only be placed on the top disciples, leading to the same situation as the inner sect. And no skin off my back. His mission would be over and done with and he would be home free. Why the hell would he waste away in this sect? He was not stupid, nor a glory hound. People, it is not for you to worry about, but the sect leader. That being said, even if it gets to that, you won't lose anything but win all the same. Aren't you the first to join us? Zhuofan snickered. Their hearts chilled and picked up on Zhuofan's meaning, obvious from that vague smile. So what if it does become the inner sect? They were pushed aside in the inner sect, with Venerable Shi taking everything for himself. But here they are the bosses, they would get the biggest slice. They'd become Venerable Shi. They laughed inside and bowed. Steward Zhuo is wise beyond his years. Sect leader chose the perfect candidate for this job. Thank you, thank you. Zhuofan returned the gesture with hidden disdain. He had not once thought of himself as being part of the in-crowd of the sect and had no qualms about where demon scheming sect was heading. But these guys, the big shots of the sect, only cared about their own behind and pockets. One actually had the wisdom to see what would come to pass, yet shot him down in 2 shakes. Now I see why Xia Weiwa said the sect is rotten, and from the way I see it, the rot runs deep. If this ever happened in the Luo clan, he'd be dealing death left and right. The only reason I'd ever get you in the Luo clan is for my sake, not yours. Whoosh! A white figure entered their eyes. Venerable Bai cried, Grand Elder, why are you here? Master. Gui, who looked from a distance. Grand Elder only spared him a glance and turned to Zhuofan. Steward Zhuo, I presume. Nice to meet you. I am the Grand Elder of the Demon Scheming Sect wishing to discuss something with you. May we go to a more private place? Steward Zhuo, this old-timer must be up to something. Don't go. Venerable Bai sent him a secret message. Zhuofan shrugged, I'm the sect leader's man. Since they've approached me in the open, they won't do anything to me. It's fine. Zhuofan took 2 steps closer to Grand Elder with a smile. I am but a laborer and flattered that Grand Elder would bother himself to invite me in person. We may go. Grand Elder's brow shook while the other oldies gave a nod of admiration. Elite Labor Office and the Inner Sect were at war. Grand Elder ought to have come to deal with him. Yet he still agreed without fear. Such valor, such manner, all inspired respect. The young are bold. Sect leader entrusted his plan to you for the right reasons. Grand Elder nodded and flew away. Zhuofan followed. The two soon arrived at a creek where a man was waiting. Venerable Shi? Why could you have asked me to? Give it a rest. Zhuofan cupped his hands and Venerable Shi cut him off. You're just Xie Wui's pawn, an expendable cannon fodder. Why do you insist on getting on every venerable and elder's bad side? It will only work against you for your future stay in the sect. Zhuofan deflected. Am I supposed to offend sect leader instead? My end will come even faster. Humph, the ignorance of youth. You think Xie Wei can help you? Wrong, he's only letting you take the fall. Venerable Shi said, by establishing an elite labor office, you've made an enemy out of every elder and venerable. While Xie Wei would use you to take all our power, he'll still need us to manage the sect. How do you think he'll appease our anger? He'll throw you to the wolves, a truly tragic fate. Zhuofan pondered and let a snicker slip. Am I not still alive? Think again. Venerable Shi squinted and exploded with power, enveloping Zhuofan in endless thirst for blood. Chapter 577. 3 Fiends of Hell. Chapter 577. 3 Fiends of Hell. SSS. Zhuofan faltered back 3 steps with a frown and a pained look. Venerable Shi's soul pressure felt like the whole world was on his shoulders and he almost activated Azure Flame's self-defense. But Zhuofan chose to bear it, staring defiantly. Venerable Shi's eyes shook with surprise and wonder from his tough character. You're not afraid. That's my line. Zhuofan broke out in a grin. I'm not just any laborer you can touch. Make your move, see what sect leader has to say about it. Who'd he pick, I wonder? The pawn you keep droning about or some oldies? You didn't think this through, did you? Hee hee hee. Venerable Shi took back his show of force and nodded. So that's why Xie Wei entrusted everything to you. You don't lack a spine. In any case, remember my words, sooner or later you will leave his protection. Thanks for the tip, I'll be sure to treasure it. Zhuofan cupped his hands. If that is all, Venerable Shi, I'll be going now. Venerable Shi's eyelids twitched but he waved him off in the end. Zhuofan smiled and flew away. Grand Elder sighed. He sure is something. Just a profound heaven stage in cultivation and yet could hold his own under your soul pressure. His own soul must be tough, tougher than a peak radiant stage. He is a talent of exceptional quality, and that's not the worst of it. He actually managed to make me feel fear, even if for an instant, from his ineffable calm. Venerable Shi squinted. His gall is impressive, but unlike others who bluster with misplaced confidence or are rash, his calm comes from complete control of the situation. This tells me that he isn't just a pawn, but the true mastermind. Grand Elder nodded. Indeed, he got us where it hurts the most and knew we won't touch him at such a critical time. That is why he came behind enemy lines so carefree. He is of the leading stock and may even be the next sect leader. Venerable Shi's silence was answer enough. Another Xie Wei? No, even more dangerous in fact. Venerable Shi sighed. Grand Elder looked around. What is our next move? Force won't help us here. With all of us elders and venerables in the inner sect having the same interests, nobody can use force, especially now with so many disciples turning on us. By my reckoning, there will only be more people going to the labor office in the days to come. Our grip on them has slipped. Venerable Shi's eyes flashed. However, since we can't touch him, I'm sure we can find someone who can. Since they used disciples to destroy us, we'll pay them back with the same coin. Ha ha ha. Venerable Shi cackled as Grand Elder fell silent. Whoosh. Zhuofan returned to the cemetery and Venerable Bai came to him the next second. Steward Zhua, is everything all right? I was about to take the rest and make them answer for detaining you. Ha, it's fine. They aren't fools. Fighting is the worst option for them. I was confident in this estimate. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow the next second, looking at the 4 doors. Because there were no disciples around them but only oldies. So why would it catch his attention if they were watching over them? Venerable Bai chuckled. Oh, almost forgot, Steward Zhua, someone wants to meet you. Me? Zhuofan eyed Venerable Bai. Who? Come. Venerable Bai had a vague smile as the two walked past the crowd. 3 people surrounded the doors while commenting and nodding like critics. One was a portly man in yellow, wobbling his lard ass in excitement. The second was a lanky man with a face in a perpetual frown, while the last one was an impeccable gentleman. Though his attire spoke of his grace, his face was a thorough disappointment due to his plain features. The trio were escorted by the oldies as if the sect leader was coming for inspection, hanging on their every word and sucking up to them. Venerable Bai chuckled. Venerables, Steward Zhua has come. Whoosh. The wobbling butt froze and the jiggling belly twisted around to let the guy see Zhua Fan. Zhua Fan, we meet at last. The incoming bear hug grew bigger and bigger as he laughed. Ha, genius, join our elite area. Wait, hold up, who are you, sirs? As the fatty was barreling for him, Zhua Fan waved all over the place. Venerable Bai smiled. Steward Zhua, they are elite instructor venerables Fiend Yang, Fiend Yin and Fiend Gui. They go by the name 3 Fiends of Hell. Along with sect leader back in the day, they went by 4 Fiends of Hell, geniuses who survived the Double Dragon gathering. A real man does not boast, Venerable Bai. Don't do that, ha. The fatty waved at him to stop with a smug face, reminiscing about the good old days. Zhua Fan chuckled inside. What's so great about coming back alive? Is that something to take pride in? Or is Double Dragon gathering such a hellish place that even keeping your life is commendable? The fatty caught Zhua Fan's doubtful expression and his smile froze. The other 2 sighed, knowing full well that it was hardly something to be smug about, though it didn't make coming out alive from that deadly place any easier. Zhua Fan cupped his hands. Venerable sirs, to what do I owe this honored visit? Fiend Yang was the one to reply. Zhua Fan, you've done a great job with the Elite Labor Office. Sect leader is so proud that he had us come here to tell you that besides the set of demonic treasures you owe him, you are to make 3 more for each of us. Zhua Fan was crying. Venerable sirs, aren't you getting it all wrong? After commending and lauding me, you should be rewarding me and not asking for more things from me. The trio laughed. The fatty waved his hand. You can't even take a joke. Sect leader has decided that these disciples can become the pillars of the sects in terms of quality and quantity. Hence he will allocate half of the inner sect's resources for training these budding experts. In addition, you'll have elite spots as well, but it will depend on their strength to take as many as they can. Say what? The oldies were over the moon. They figured this might happen for the Elite Labor Office to become the new inner sect, but that was going to be much later. Yet fortune smiled upon them with the sect leader coming to this decision overnight. And by the sound of it, they'd get all the elite spots as well. It only spelled the end of the inner sect. They all quaked in excitement and shock, happy that they made the right choice in jumping ship. They could practically see the future of the Elite Labor Office under sect leader's grasp, but with plenty of resources going their way since they were the first wave of oldies to join. As for Venerable Shir's faction and stubborn disciples, it would only get worse from here. All of them sported creepy grins, enjoying another's misfortune. Zhua Fan nodded. That's great. The Elite Labor Office is on the right track and I'm one step closer to finishing my mission. When will the elite selection take place, sirs? In 2 days, so get ready. And you'll be joining it as well, kid, no discussion. We have our sights on you and you can't escape. Fiend Yang laughed. Zhua Fan said, but I'm just a laborer. What's wrong with that? Look around you, they're all laborers. With so many promising inner and outer disciples coming here, not letting laborers enter the elite area is tantamount to suicide. I bet the sect leader will call a meeting of elders in a couple of days to talk it over. With so many venerables and even more to come, this decision is as good as made. Fiend Yang pointed at the old guys and they nodded on cue. Their pockets were going to get lined up based on Elite Labor Office's development. They had to crush the old rule no matter what. Fiend Yang turned serious. Boy, you've done a great job getting to change the sect's rule. This has hardly ever happened in the sect's thousands of years of history. Everyone looked at Zhua Fan with respect and praise. Zhua Fan chuckled, inclined to disagree on this assessment. He was only playing his act, granted on a grand scale, at the whims of the one on top who gave him the script. The leader wasn't him by far. He'd never take this role of pawn in the past. But now he couldn't care less. Like an outsider, he could leave just like he came in. The situation had no pull on him. This realization made his heart thump, his eyes shining. I'm advancing again. Chapter 578, Seclusion. Chapter 578, Seclusion. Then Zhuofan went through a long and equally pointless discussion with the three venerables before finally leaving. Yet not before giving repeated warnings about their share of demonic treasures. Zhuofan kept silent. Wasn't it just a joke? I was never going to give Xie Wuya anything, not to mention you. Zhuofan smirked, having had enough of their senseless banter, and left as well, not before warning Venerable Bai, I have crucial matters to attend to. I'll leave you to handle the elite selection. Steward Zhuo, we are now elders of the labor office. We will do our very best. Venerable Bai smiled. At long last Zhuofan felt the weight on his shoulders slip off. With perfectly capable managers around, he needn't worry about this place. Freedom? Zhuofan flew away in his newfound bliss, back to the shabby labor office place where he stayed. Elder Yuan was still looking after the laborers' cultivation, those that had yet to enter the elite labor office. These youths had never taken the old man seriously so far. He was so old yet much weaker than everyone else. Why should he look after us? But since he had Zhuofan on his side, everyone showed respect. Elder Yuan watched the laborers with the same attentiveness as his grandsons. There's still 2 years until the next Azura circle. Work hard and you can enter the elite labor office, freeing yourself from such an agonizing fate. The disciples nodded. Zhuofan took a deep breath and nodded as well. Elder Yuan's wisdom was boundless, earning his admiration as well. The old man ought to be getting cocky now that he had a big shot on his side. Yet reality showed otherwise. All that power did not get to his head, he was only becoming kinder and more nurturing. Zhuofan swore he had never seen someone's heart reach such a deep level in the countless experts he had fought, not once. All that held Elder Yuan back was his poor foundation and interference for living up to his glorious potential. Anywho, the heart is what it all came down to for experiencing the world in all its nuances. If the old man had been a powerful genius, getting his heart to reach such a deep level would be a truly difficult task. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Or having them both would uplift one to heaven. Zhuofan came to see Yun Xuanji's words through a different lens. The ex-demonic emperor had a stale life, filled with fighting and killing and comprehending the demonic way. It was for this reason that becoming even a saint was out of his reach. Upon finding the 9 Serenities secret records, he thought his chance had come. But now it dawned on him that this rebirth was his true chance. Heaven offered him a second chance at walking the demonic path, in a more profound and intricate way, that his past self could never tread. Steward Zhuo, how come you're here? Elder Yuan broke him out of his rumination, having come over with the same flattering smile he had when they first met. Zhuofan saw endless wisdom in that smile. The weak had their own path of survival. It was something that he despised but now saw the truth behind it. Holding his heart, Zhuofan smiled, Elder Yuan, I am on the verge of a breakthrough. Could you tell me of a quiet place with no interferences? Weren't you advancing like it was nothing so far? Why are you so serious this time? Elder Yuan asked. Zhuofan shook his head, I can feel that this time will make me sore. I must get ready lest I come to regret it for as long as I live. Then we can't have you disturbed. That is a warning coming from your heart. Elder Yuan turned serious and then gave Zhuofan an odd look. Why are you so calm then? Even I am worried sick for you. Haha, no matter how crucial it is, be it success or failure, I can only do my best. Worry will only drag me down. Just doing my best to glean into heaven and follow my heart. Elder Yuan approved. His heart has reached the blasé level. With such a heart, no demon will corrupt him. This is good, but the warning from the heart will pose some trouble. He should be fine. Elder Yuan's eyes flashed and he smiled. Steward Zhuo, you've come to the right person. Having been in the demon scheming sect for so long, I know many secluded areas. Some not even the sect leader or elders are aware of. Come with me. Elder Yuan walked into a glum forest with Zhuofan behind him. An hour later, the two found themselves before a black cave. Steward Zhuo, this is the most remote and isolated place. No one will ever bother you here. But it's hardly far. Zhuofan entered the cave to find a stone bed, wooden rack and a table, as well as a night pearl in neat order. Someone was living here, obviously. Did someone else cultivate here? Elder Yuan shrugged. Yeah, but he has long since sacrificed himself for the sect. It is the same alchemist I worked under. He likes peace and quiet, so he made a cave here to cultivate away from the ruckus of the sect. Best thing is that no one knows about this place. Why is everything so clean then? Someone lives here. Zhuofan frowned. Elder Yuan dismissed his worries. How can that be? I've only kept it clean for the memory of our times working together. You can break through in peace here. But, come on now, don't you trust me? It can't get any safer than this. You stay here while I activate the defensive array and no one will disturb you. Elder Yuan stopped any more questions from Zhuofan and ran like the wind, leaving him looking around anxiously. What if the owner comes back? I must get to the bottom of this before I can stay here. As he walked to the exit, the entire cave shifted with a hum as it was enveloped in hues of green. Zhuofan's heart jumped and knew he was in a barrier. But as an array grandmaster, he noticed this was a soul barrier, one set up by an ethereal stage expert. Are ethereal stage experts trying to hold me back? Elder Yuan giggled. Steward Zhua, make yourself comfortable and focus on breaking through. No one will bother you, or do you still doubt me? Zhuofan's eyelid twitched and he shook his head at the soul barrier. He could have popped it open if it was just a simple array with his eye, but since an ethereal stage expert used his soul to supplement it, he was stuck. Unless he became stronger, which was not possible. Left with no choice, he chose to gamble and have faith in Elder Yuan. What man proposes, God disposes. Elder Yuan, I sure hope you are worthy of my trust. Zhuofan shrugged and went back inside. Elder Yuan chuckled with a shake of his head, then his eyes took a somber look. What are you all doing here? Make sure the kid's not disturbed, not even by the sect leader. Yes, sir. An old voice replied and the barrier rippled once and vanished. Meanwhile, 3 fiends of hell and Xia Weiwei were discussing in the Great Hall when to give elite labor office those elite spots when they felt the sudden power spike. They rushed outside the hall. 5 green beams pierced the skies from within the forest before vanishing. And with them so too did a patch of trees. Fiend Yang cried, isn't he that? Impermanence 5's vicissitudes barrier. Fiend Yin frowned. Fiend Gui closed his fan, that means. High Venerable, Xia Weiwei's eyes flashed with doubt. In seclusion, Venerable Shi showed a twisted smile from a mountain in the inner sect. Chapter 579, 10 Dragons Opening the Heavens. Chapter 579, 10 Dragons Opening the Heavens. In the quiet cave and under the light of a blue flame, Zhuofan sat on the bed at peace and tranquil. He should be worried as to which ethereal stage expert trapped him here, though in this particular instant he didn't, letting it all go in favor of training his heart. It would have been a major concern years ago, but now his heart had achieved calm even in serious matters. Since they were looking after his best interests, everything else was moot. He might as well go with it and handle his breakthrough. This realization only deepened his calm and turned the azure flame into a bigger blaze. Unlike his previous advancements, his heart was warning him for days, which only made it all the more critical to be cautious. Zhuofan reckoned that the constant refining of his soul had something to do with it, as well as his heart improving here and there. All he needed was a spark to trigger this event, and that was where Venerable Shi's soul pressure came in. This advancement had been triggered by his soul, and that meant Radiant Stage was nigh. Skipping 2 layers without any supplements from the 8th layer of Profound Heaven Stage, showed he had one exquisite soul. Kunping was right about one thing, Azure Flame is the best in refining the soul. Zhuofan broke out into a grin. No matter how suspicious he was of Kunping, the guy had always given him good stuff. Crack. The sound coming from his mind announced the expansion of the flame on his forehead. A mighty soul power churned his mind, like a stormy sea. Zhuofan was both happy and startled. It was just like he thought, the sign of entering the Radiant Stage. He has had a Radiant Stage soul for ages now, and advancing to it would fill it with unseen power. He had no idea just how far it could go and what it would become. His joy was short-lived though, as the surging soul power rose and rose, threatening to burst his skull. The pain of having his head balloon was excruciating. One more push and it would pop. But he bore through it, pushing back against the growing soul power to get it under control no matter how useless it was. The ever-growing pressure got so big that it leaked outside and pulverized his bed and furniture. It spread in the entire cave with no place left to go. Zhuofan gnashed his teeth, working hard to settle this. He'd never have used the Azure Flame if he knew that reaching Radiant Stage would make his soul power multiply to such a degree. What do you get by multiplying a peak Radiant Stage soul? Death. As he kicked himself with regret, he recalled, right? Ethereal Stage comes after Radiant Stage. With so much soul power, it's gotta condense. Zhuofan worked his cultivation method into controlling the rumbling soul power while also giving it shape. Soul forming in the Radiant Stage? It was unheard of. Then again, so was having peak radiant stage soul power and profound heaven stage. The soul's form was but the next step in a soul strengthening, so why should he stick to the conventional stages when he had the right soul power? Besides, not doing it would leave him splattered across the walls. Zhuofan squinted and pushed his soul power with all his being. As to the form? The cultivation method would decide. Roar. It was now that the dragons lashed out. There's still those 9 earth dragon souls. I wanted the 10th to give the 10 dragons opening the heavens a try and see what's the deal with heaven dragon soul. But it's too late now. Since I'm stuck with an earth dragon soul, might as well do it right. He blended those dragon souls with his mighty soul power. The resulting clash released an almighty aura. 9 dragons' roars filled the cave, threatening to break it open. And as the dragon souls put pressure on the soul power, it soon took the shape of an earth dragon soul. As the pressure ebbed on Zhuofan, he felt his power growing, nearing an ethereal stage expert's level. But then, as the 9 earth dragons fused, a mighty draconic cry came from his thunder ring. It made the 9 dragons separate then and there. Zhuofan eyed his ring in shock. Since when did my ring have a dragon soul? The dragon soul came out as it roared, along with Dugu Zhantian's signature weapon, dragon-slaying crescent blade. Roar. The azure blade flickered with the image of a dragon roaming over it, unable to break out, only roaring. While the 9 dragon souls were incited by it and roared as well. The 10th dragon soul is actually here. Talk about being a lucky stiff, heaven's on my side. Marshal Dugu, you have my utmost gratitude for helping me even beyond the grave. Zhuofan was excited knowing the 10 dragons opening the heavens was around the corner. Whoosh. Lifting the blade, Zhuofan laughed. Dragon souls converge, 10 dragons opening the heavens. Dragon power of the heavens, form the heavenly dragon. Bow to me and turn into the heaven dragon soul. Roar. The earth-shaking roar pierced the clouds and the dragon-slaying crescent blade exploded in a golden glow as its dragon burst out, soaring along its 9 brothers. The 10 dragon souls circled overhead, their heads and tails fusing into forming a ring. With a hum, the ring shone with a blinding white light. With a bang, the white light pierced the cave and shot for the heavens. The white beam of light connected the 9th heaven with the earth. As draconic roars once again sounded, a prismatic glow rose, blending with the light beam and entering Zhuofan's soul. Zhuofan felt refreshed and powerful. Before he could celebrate though, an even mightier pressure came in the form of a draconic roar like never before from the heavens above. Zhuofan spat blood then and there, his mind fried. While the mighty power converted into huge dragons charging into Zhuofan's soul and causing havoc. The excruciating pain made it feel like his mind might crack, his jaw shattering from grinding, but he steeled himself through it, forcing down on his soul in an attempt to quell the dragons from the heavens. No matter how futile it was to control even one dragon's heavenly power. Zhuofan had decided to stake it all. Somewhere else, a huge eye opened in the darkness surrounded by flames and purple lightning. Humph, a human dares to draw on my dragon tomb's dragon power? It would rather devour you than let you form the dragon soul. Master, there are oddities among humans as well. Exalted double dragon did form the heaven dragon soul after all. A young voice echoed. The huge eye mocked, those in this world that can actually take my dragon power can be counted on one hand. Humans never know their limits. You say exalted double dragon formed a heaven dragon soul, but do you know how many countless others have tried and failed? The youth was speechless. The large eye continued, forming one of my dragon souls is a human's gamble with his life on the line. If it weren't for me being trapped here, you wouldn't even have that. Yes, master, but since it's so dangerous, do I have to go through it as well? Spare me with your excuses, since you've caught my eye, of course you'll succeed. Or do you compare yourself to those village idiots? Only with my help will you ever succeed. Master, I'd never go against your will. I don't want the master to burn me alive. The youth panicked and steeled his determination. The huge eye said, you better have at least that much bravery, or even if you flee to the sacred domain, I'll even risk being found out to tear you piece by piece. Now, are the 10 earthworms ready? Master, they're earth dragon souls. They're nothing but earthworms to me. All right. As you say, along with the youth's wry smile, draconic roars echoed. Chapter 580, Heaven Dragon Soul. Chapter 580, Heaven Dragon Soul. Rumble. A flashy beam of light pierced the cave and shot into the sky, and there was nothing Impermanence 5's barrier could do to stop it. Then came a huge pressure from the heavens and the draconic roars assaulted this barrier, making even these seasoned experts bleed from the mouth. With the shaking of the ground and the sect around them, they found it impossible to maintain the barrier under such might. What the hell is this kid doing in there to make such a scene? In the sect leader's hall, Xiaowiwa shook and walked out, frowning at the beam of light. The High Venerable must have reached a crucial step indeed to enter seclusion. Venerable Shur in his little courtyard, flew onto his roof and ruminated on the changes. No matter what fancy method High Venerable is using, the least of all it'll keep him busy and out of my hair, The whole sect was roused awake by the sudden commotion, the beam of light grabbing their attention. Everyone looked on with shock and doubt. What is happening? Whoosh. Elder Yuan appeared next to Impermanence 5, watching them go through signs with stern looks. Even as blood flowed from their mouths, they still wanted to maintain the barrier. Just what on earth happened to damage you so much? Who knows what that kid is cooking in there? Made the whole word tear and shake. Even we can't take it anymore. Elder, she was sweating. We can't keep holding the vicissitudes barrier for too long. There's no way this is the kid's power. Just what crazy stunt is being pulled in there? Elder Yuan's brow shook, turning from the weary elders to the beam of light and the draconic roars. Adding the dragon power into the mix, his reaction grew more flabbergasted by the second. Why, you mean to tell me he's forming the heaven dragon soul? Is this the 10 dragons opening the heavens? That's impossible. Impermanence 5 cried together, with Elder She speaking for all when saying, he went in as a profound heaven cultivator. The most this advancement will take him is the radiant stage. Ethereal stage is too far away to condense his soul. Elder Yuan's eyelids twitched, shaking in confusion, but his eyes gleamed. I don't know, but it's following the legend of the 10 dragons opening the heavens. The next step should be the prismatic glow and the descent of the dragon soul. Others might come here and greed and interfere. Impermanence 5, we must stabilize the barrier and hide it. Elder Yuan's power exploded and a yellow glow came out from his body along with a draconic roar. A golden dragon flew out of him. It circled the vicissitudes barrier as its tail whipped around the entire barrier. The great power of Earth seeped into the barrier while Impermanence 5 made signs before relaxing at last. Earth Dragon Soul, Crouching Dragon Seal, Elder Yuan shouted. Whoosh. The beam of light vanished and the earth calmed down. The audience ended up scratching their heads. What? It's over. Break it up. That is a restricted area. Venerables and elders came to restore order by the order of sect leader. There was no need for him to say anything. It was clear as day to these oldies that messing with High Venerable's cultivation was a death sentence. Xiaowiwa returned inside. High Venerable's cultivation has succeeded and now comes a period of acclimatization. Venerable Shur smiled. It's over. At best, it should buy me 3 days in which the old man's recouping. Better make the most of it. While most figured this was the end, it was only the beginning for the storm brewing within the barrier. The beam of light shined brightly, only covered up under the combined work of 6 people. Following the constant heavenly draconic roar, it went just as Elder Yuan said, with prismatic lights following the beam and into Zhuofan's cave. Images of dragons with fangs and claws roamed the beam as they tried going inside. This scene shocked them silly. The kid's actually forming a heaven dragon soul. Haha, genius, I tell you. He's the second one in Western lands to form his soul so early. Our demon scheming sect finally has such a genius, Heaven is with our sect. Elder Yuan laughed, touched to the core while the elders nodded. Being his guards was totally worth it. Elder She chuckled. Elder Yuan nodded. So this is the reason behind the heart warning to condense the soul. Then again, with his soul power going beyond common sense, all that was left was forming it. As a genius he can't walk the common path. But the kid sure is paranoid. Saying he has only 9 dragon souls when he had 10, I was playing the lackey for nothing. Elder Yuan didn't show any remorse his words might contain. Though how was Zhuofan supposed to know that dragon-slaying Crescent Blade had a dragon soul within it? He was innocent in this. Not that it mattered, as everyone wished for Zhuofan to finish up forming his soul and become the core of the sect revolution. 10 dragons opening the heavens is only the beginning. The crux is forming the heaven dragon soul. The dragon power from the 9th heaven is not something anyone can withstand. Elder She was worried. Elder Yuan shook his head. Relax, the kid'll be fine. His cultivation and heart are at peak. He will succeed, The 9th heaven dragon power wreaked havoc in Zhuofan's mind. He had been bearing through it all this time with clenched teeth and a still heart, pushing back with all he had to control it into condensing, while the prismatic glow slipped inside and gave Juofan's soul a dazzling hue of colors. Juofan rejoiced that his heart had evolved so much to allow him to cope with the dragon power and its tyranny up to this point. Or he'd been crushed just by that increase of soul power alone. So while his head was a ticking time bomb, excruciating more and more by the second, a serene heart held him on the brink. He could let the pain in and out at will, a true blasé feeling. With deep breaths, Juofan suffered the savage dragon power for the next 3 long days. The pain never let up, but his eyes showed unmistakable clarity. Under the onslaught these days, the dragon power lost its savagery bit by bit, forced into Juofan's soul on the brink of fusing. Elder Yuan and Impermanence 5 were guarding outside the cave. It had all gone easy so far, but with High Venerable away, Venerable sure had a ball in the sect. He rang the bell for a meeting with the other venerables and elders to crush the elite labor office. Xia Wuya mocked him while relaxing in his throne, totally content. And why wouldn't he be when dozens more oldies had defected for the labor office? Their numbers equaled inner sects now. That being said, he had half of the inner sect under his control and could hold his own against Venerable Shi's faction. Venerable Shi, what is it this time? Speak, what grave matter has happened? Xia Wuya said plainly. Venerable Shi said, Sect leader, I propose the dissolution of the elite labor office. Why? It's against regulations. A laborer must do what he's entitled to. With the inner and outer disciples going there is totally inappropriate. Venerable Shi said. Xia Wuya chuckled, letting Venerable Bai speak, a demonic sect holds strength supreme. For all the disciples to run to the labor office, it only goes to show how weak the inner sect is. Shouldn't it be the inner sect getting dissolved instead? Haha, true. Xia Wuya laughed. The Great Hall used to have sect leader and the rest, both sides eyeing each other like wolves, reduced to hating him in the fight to fill their pockets. Alone and weak, all he could do was put up a tough front before these old-timers. While now he had split their interests and got some on his side. This was the feeling of having a grand plan come to a head. Chapter 581, Red Herring. Chapter 581, Red Herring. Venerable Shi was unfazed by their union. Sect leader, inner sect is the core of the sect. It has always been this way. Weakening it will weaken the sect. By siding with the labor office, sect leader neglects his duty and threatens our foundation by paying an impossible price. Xia Wuya admired Venerable Shi for his sound logic. No matter how run down the inner sect became, it was the root of the sect. Giving it all up in favor of a new one would be paying a heavy price, a price the sect couldn't afford. But it wasn't like the sect was paying for anything, was there? Juofan waltzed into the sect like a tycoon and left Xia Wuya free of worry. He wouldn't twitch even if he had to build 8 new inner sections. He wasn't the one paying. Haha, Venerable Shi, you're too anxious. The rise of the elite labor office is unstoppable, reaching the inner sect's level in such a short time. Letting it all go would be such a waste. And besides, this is the merit of the labor office. I always give laborers a way out. No matter how hard it may be, those that walk it are the cornerstones of our sect. Xia Wuya squinted. Since we're all here, I propose we make an exception to the rule and turn laborer Juofan into an elite, on account of his outstanding contributions. What do you say? Venerable Bai nodded. Juofan is smart and talented. Becoming an elite for his merits is only just. I also propose that the labor office with its strong disciples is entitled to vie for the elite spots. It would be such a waste of talent to leave them there. Yeah, please allow it, sect leader. Venerable Bai's faction agreed on the spot, all the people who couldn't get anything back in the inner sect. Venerable Shi knew about their desires very well. Ridiculous, as venerables and elders you dare defy the ancestral rule? Sect leader, the elite area has had clear rules since the dawn of our sect. Only the best can enter it, while the labor office is filled with hopeless rejects and criminals. Wasn't the High Venerable, even with his immense glory in coming out of the labor office, banned from being an elite as well? The ancestors had made this rule to prevent nepotism and the ruin of the sect. While Juofan and the rest, be it potential or strength, are among the best in the sect. Everyone can see it, and there's also the sect's rule. If anyone gains the approval of the majority of elders and venerables, he can become an elite. Who is against it? Venerable Qi and Bai spoke up. We agree and go with the sect leader's decreeing. We agree as well. Labor office's side of oldies bowed. Venerable Sure held his nose knowing this was bound to happen. The opinions are halved and can't reach a decision. Laborers do not care for rules, and will sow discord once in the elite area. This decision is not to be made rashly. Yeah, Venerable Sure is right. Inner sect's faction bobbed their heads. But a loud voice cut him off. Enough of your goddamn blabbering. This here's a demonic sect. Have you seen any saints around? Or anyone going by the books? Going by your idea, those elites would be holed up in their homes. Those are not elites, but wastrels are more like it. Or getting in through connections. A fatty in yellow barked, followed by a beanpole and a scholar, 3 fiends of hell. Xiaowiwa frowned. This is an inner sect meeting. Why are you here? We heard the motion to dissolve the elite labor office and came to see who the hell is butting in and is against such a great place. It's been ages since the elite area produced anyone decent. And now that we have a good source of seeds, you want to call it off? Who the hell dares? Fiend Yang pointed at the inner sect's oldies. Venerable Sure's mouth perked up in a twisted smile. He signaled the second elder and he snickered inside too. Xiaowiwa was puzzled. Who told you that? It's all the rage in the elite area. We'd be deaf to not hear it. Fiend Yang fumed. Xiaowiwa was curious. The elite area is talking about it? But they only just mentioned it. Noticing Venerable Sure's cold look, Xiaowiwa was late to stop him from speaking. Fiend Yang, I proposed it. Representing the High Venerable and managing the inner sect, I must uphold the sect's rules and honor. You might be thirsty for talents, but no laborer shall ever become an elite. If word got out that we did this, then we'll be the laughingstock of the world. They'd say no one's good in our sect. You call this dishonorable? I'll give you real dishonor. Fiend Yang shouted, going to give someone a beating only to be pummeled instead. Dozens went to the last double dragon gathering, yet only 4 came back. That's dishonor when? Fiend Yang began recounting the past. Fiend Gue and Fiend Yin were crestfallen every time they heard it. That time was simply horrible. Venerable Sure showed a smug look, sending a message to the second elder. I just knew he'd go on and on about pointless history. This should give us 2 hours. Haha, brilliant, Venerable Sure. With the High Venerable in seclusion and everyone here, there's no one watching the labor office and those 2 brats can have a blast. Second elder snickered. Venerable Sure's eyes flashed, while Xiaowiwa was getting more and more suspicious. What's the old-timer up to? His proposal is useless, so why does he still insist on it? Meanwhile, at the cemetery's most popular attraction, a man and a girl appeared. They looked on with disdain and released a dreadful aura. Is this the elite labor office that has got the whole sect abuzz? It hasn't been here for long, yet it's close to ruining the inner sect. They sure seem rich to be able to do it. A 17-year-old girl mocked them. The handsome guy next to her had an evil smile. Right you are, junior sister Yujuan. They are rich but dare to fight the inner sect. It's time to teach them some manners and ingrain in their hearts the right place for laborers. Once here you can never get out. No one here is worthy of becoming an elite, ever. Right? Yujuan stuck out her chest. Where's their manager? Elites Yujuan and Chi Feng are here to test you wretched laborers and see if you're worthy of something besides sweeping. The trial takers waiting in line for the doors turned around. No matter how rude and foul the couple was, they were elites of the sect. Steward didn't lie. He has paved a way for us to reach heaven, out of despair and into a world of glory and promise. The crowd rushed the 2 with excitement, which only made the couple thicken their disdain. Gue Hu and the rest walked over. Senior brother Chi Feng, it's been a while. I heard the elite area will be coming to pick disciples from us, but didn't know it would be you 2 and not the 3 venerables. But the elders and venerables of the labor office are away and I will have to accommodate you. Please tell me about your choices. Gue Hu, weren't you Grand Elder's prize pupil? What are you doing here? Such a shame. Chi Feng was stunned. Gue Hu waved his hand. Just some minor mistake and master threw me here, though calling it a fortunate mistake might be better. Labor office isn't what it used to be. It's filled with opportunities, with now even elites being picked from it. I should make the cut as well, haha. The couple only had mockery for him. Labor office with opportunities? Don't make me laugh. We'll make sure there won't be any labor office after today. The 2's eyes glinted. Chapter 582, Feud. Chapter 582, Feud. As I live and breathe, Pang Yujuan? Taiying roared with rage at her sight. Yujuan scoffed. Senior brother Taiying, even you ran to the labor office? Well, you are made for this place. Of all the places in this world, this filthy place is the only one to accept someone like you. Pang Yujuan, we all know exactly what happened. Just a fourth layer of Radiant Stage yet got into the elite area? It only proves that you were up to something just like last time. Taiying snorted. Yujuan mocked without a care, my grandpa is the seventh elder, no one will ever mess with me, no inner or outer disciple. Only an ignorant nobody like you, a mere top outer disciple would be dumb enough to mess with me. Yet look where that has gotten you. So you do admit it, you skank. Taiying, they're elites, the best of the sect. Try to leave that for later. Gue, who cut his swearing short, senior brother Qifeng, how would you like to test us? Qifeng grinned, simple, we'll test your strength personally. Anyone who becomes an elite has to have some power. I'll go first. A tough guy came over excited. But all he got was a round of size at his cultivation. What are you doing here with just a fifth layer of profound heaven cultivation? It couldn't get you even to the outer sect. Gue, who shook his head, Ma Sanpao, are you messing around again? You're no Steward Zhua. Smiley face, the name lit. Means dull horsey. Crack. The noise jarred the ears of the others, and the next thing they knew was something red flying over. Ma Sanpao was flung into the ground, dead, even as his excitement remained in his eyes. Gue, who squinted and turned to the source of that yuan qi. Qifeng had a nasty grin while lowering his palm. What, didn't you used to do the same, Gue Hu? Qifeng taunted. Gue, who stood silent, forgetting about him and focusing on his heart, at the sudden rage coming over him, and he clenched his fists. Kuei Lang shouted, Senior brother Qifeng, how can you be so heavy-handed when you're just here to test us? Humph, what could a rejected laborer possibly amount to? Qifeng patronized, anyone else up for a test? The disciples flinched back twice, looking at the pair in fear. Are they really here to choose candidates? The two showed boundless ridicule, but no one stepped up, not with how one move killed someone already. Not even Kuei Lang's group. These two were definitely here to pick a fight. Yujuan's twisted smile grew as her shifty eyes roamed the crowd before stopping at Taiying. Senior brother Taiying, you were such a mighty hero once, the best in the outer sect, so how come you're down here in the labor office? Are you suddenly a chicken too? Where's all that courage gone? Say that again? Taiying roared and raised his fists. Bastards, being elites doesn't make you the strongest. I'll fight you even in the profound heaven stage. Taiying, stop with the trash talk, will you? A profound heaven cultivator going against a radiant stage 1? Or you Steward Zhua? Don't waste your breath. Gue, who shouted over him, while Kuei Lang kept giving him signals not to fall for their taunt. Bro, they're riling you up. Don't let them get to you. Taiying grumbled and remained silent. Yujuan's mockery never ceased to come. Haha, senior brother Taiying must be so scared of me. Tell you what, since you lost 3 years, I won't use any soul attacks. If you can't even take me on like this, then you're a hopeless coward. Shove it, bitch. No matter if it's 2 stages or 5 layers difference, I'll still take you. Taiying roared and clenched his fists. Pang Yujuan, let's do this. Gue Hu sighed. Yujuan and Qifeng grinned. The dumbass fell for it at last. Under the tense gazes of others, Taiying exploded with power as he clawed at Yujuan's throat. She merely giggled and pushed him back with her full cultivation. No matter how much nerve he had, Taiying knew 5 layers couldn't just be overcome so easily. The instant their attacks met, he slipped past her palm and grabbed her wrist. Crack. Yujuan wailed with pain at having it broken. Gue Hu sighed, approved with bobbed heads. That's the top outer disciple for you, well seasoned. The only difference between profound heaven stage and radiant stage was soul power. With that out, Taiying might stand a chance after all. Obvious by his current advantage. They didn't get to rejoice though, as Yujuan's eyes raged with bloodthirst. A sudden wave sent Taiying flying, his head a mush and blood leaking from everywhere. That skank cheated. She used a soul attack. Kuei Lang flew over to help, but then someone jabbed his chest. Spurting blood, Kuei Lang slammed back down as Qifeng snickered from above. You're actually dumb enough to believe a radiant stage expert wouldn't use soul attacks? Taking such a retarded bet will never make you elites. Ugh, Kuei Lang raved, is this how you choose candidates, by crippling them? Humph, choose candidates? From a bunch of rejected laborers dreaming the impossible? We came here to warn you to stop wasting your breath and know your place. Qifeng's twisted smirk was ever present. Yujuan got next to Taiying in 2 jumps, her eyes shone with bloodlust, noticing his damaged soul, and struck his chest. Blood spurted from his mouth because of the heavy pressure. This palm might very well be the last he'd see on this earth. Yu Ling though had a say in this, meeting Yu Zhuan's attack. While the two separated, she took Taiying away. Yu Zhuan was annoyed at having her prey slip away, but someone blocked her. "I'll do it." Qi Feng flashed before Yu Ling and Taiying with a creepy smile and pointed, "Profound ranked martial art, flaming finger." Die. Yu Ling panicked. She had no way of blocking an 8th layer of Radiant Stage Cultivator's attack. Profound ranked martial art, underworld fiend. Gui Hu popped out of nowhere, meeting Qi Feng's attack. Gui Hu fell back 10 steps and spat blood while Qi Feng stood still and taunted, "Gui Hu, I wasn't your match back then, but I've been an elite for a longer time and my power control surpasses yours. Yours is just scattered, ha." Crack. The shockwave sent Yu Ling and Taiying into the ground, spitting blood. Gui Hu glared at him, "What do you mean scattered?" "Ha, you'll never understand with that heart." Qi Feng mocked, "Your savage energy used to scare me, but only in the elite area did I realize the truth. You just don't know how to use it, simply showing it off. Why else do you think I'm having an easy time beating you when you're a layer higher than me?" Gui Hu gnashed his teeth. "The heart again. On account of the Grand Elder, I'll leave you be. But get this straight, it is you who challenged us when we came to merely test you. This isn't on us but you. If anyone twists it." Qi Feng exploded with bloodthirst, making the other disciples shiver. Qi Feng flicked and a few heads rolled onto the ground. Everyone nodded in panic. Qi Feng and Yu Zhuan cackled, while Gui Hu's side could only stew in anger. "And another thing, as laborers, you are the filth of the sect, not worthy of being elites. Try it and you'll be squashed like a bug." Qi Feng threatened. Everyone lowered their heads, unable to retort. While sect leader wanted laborers to become elites, the elites came over to rob them of their courage. They knew they weren't welcome in the elite area, only surrounded by dangers. Laborers were the lowest rung and nothing would change that. The inner and outer disciples who came here were gripped by remorse. They got the demonic treasures and pills but lost a glorious future. A laborer was but an ant to an elite, even if it was an outer disciple in the past. The two took in their despair and grinned savagely before leaving. Yet Gui Hu's side was filled with rage. The elite area and the labor office were at war. Chapter 583, Let him handle it. Chapter 583, Let him handle it. And that's how we four went through hell and untold hardships before escaping with our lives. The grand hall echoed with Fiend Yang's pained voice, his eyes flickering with fear, and to prevent such disaster from ever happening again, as elders and venerables of demon scheming sect, it is our duty and responsibility to raise a true figure to carry out the sect's burdens, to avoid needless casualties and to grow geniuses. Fiend Yang's speech had passion, had feelings, touching Xia Wuiwei and Fiend Yin to the core. While the rest were just bored and nodding off. Not just Venerable Shi's faction, but even Venerable Bai's group was stiff with their eyelids twitching. Who could blame them? No matter how great a story, at least keep it short, not drone on for hours. The only reason Xia Wuiwei accepted it is because he was there in the last Double Dragon gathering. But we old guys have nothing to do with it. Of course we'd grow tired of your prattle. Looking outside, for God's sake, it's evening already. Just how long will this tub of lard drag it on? Till morning? Venerable Shi had his limits as well and turned to the second elder, that ought to do it. Time to go. Yep, let's run for it. Venerable Shi is brilliant. Second elder said excited, the two must have finished their job by now and I don't want to hear one more word out of this guy if I can help it. You're not the only one. Venerable Shi shouted, Fiend Yang, please hold on for a moment. I understand everything. Since this proposal has such great opposition, we will put a pin in it. Seeing as it's so late already, let us resume on another day. Venerable Shi is right, we might argue for days here. It'd be best to do our own search before we convene again. Someone already had his back and not just his faction but Venerable Bai's side too. All of them were praising him to high heaven. What? Fiend Yang's chubby face twitched and sank. Why is it always like this? I never even get to make half my point. Haha, we understand Fiend Yang's feelings and he needn't explain it. Hearing Fiend Yang's retelling felt like reading for 10 years. Venerable Shi laughed with a straight face. Sect leader, forgive my crassness today and if there's nothing else, let us end the meeting here and discuss the labor office's fate another day. Xia Wuiwei eyed him, unable to see through his thinking, that we shall. But don't go ringing the bell as you wish. Calling a meeting is the right of the sect leader. Yes, I will forever remember it. Venerable Sure knew Xia Weiwei was just throwing his weight around and simply nodded. He and his gang left in a hurry, leaving Xia Weiwei unnerved for some reason. Alone with his allies, Venerable Bai mocked, seeing Venerable Sure so slumped feels so good, ha. It's all thanks to Fiend Yang's dawdle until the old fart couldn't take it. Fiend Yin chuckled and patted Fiend Yang's shoulder. Fiend Yang's face twitched. When did I dawdle? I am a smooth operator, mind you. He was clearly in the wrong and our mighty righteousness shook some sense into him. And I have many more lessons to share. I can share them with you if... Oh no, it's best if you tell the old fart. Our ears are clogged enough for today. We could never endure any more of your ceaseless drivel. Fiend Gui stopped Fiend Yang before he got into it again. The others agreed at once, doing anything they could to stop the fatty's mouth from opening. The fatty was crestfallen. Can't anyone feel my undying righteous devotion? Xia Weiwei's frown never left him. Strange, what was Venerable Sure up to today? He was not his usual scheming self. Maybe he just came to flaunt his might to try and stop us. But look at him losing it all, ha, a Fiend Yang mocked. The others nodded without a care. Venerable Bai said, the old fart must still think of himself as the boss of the inner sect. Look at him now, ha ha ha. While the others jeered at another's expense like winners, someone entered the hall and bowed. Laborer Yuling requests to see sect leader and master. What is up with this girl? Venerable Bai turned to Xia Weiwei. Xia Weiwei asked, enter. Yuling rushed deeper and bowed. Sect leader, master, elites caused a scene at the labor office, killing and hurting many. They warned us to not set foot in the elite area or we'll suffer for it. What? They all cried out. The elites and labor office had never once intersected, yet they suddenly went there. Fiend Yang stomped, who's the punk with such gall to kill laborers? Has he no care for the rules? Venerable sirs, it's Qi Feng and Yu Juan, Yuling reported. All had a realization written on their faces. Yu Juan was the 7th elder's granddaughter while Qi Feng was 2nd elder's. They were on Venerable Shi's side and doing his bidding. Xia Weiwei sighed, a great diversion. Using the time High Venerable was in seclusion and we were in the meeting, he had the labor office and elites become bitter enemies. Choosing candidates from the labor office will be much harder now. The inner sect has the advantage. Humph, they can choose all they want. Last I heard, it's us 3 leading the elites area. Fiend Yang stuck out his folds. Fiend Gui shook his head, we can't interfere. And now there's the problem if laborers even want to become elites. Everyone has their pride and after such humiliation, they'd be hard-pressed to still want to become elites. That will leave many crawling out of the woodworks to take those spots. We might not have even one laborer willing. They played us. Blast it all to hell, the punks ruined my great plan. I'm gonna set them real straight. Fiend Yang flared his nostrils, walking away to dole out punishment. Xia Weiwei called out, no point. They'd be sure to have a good reason for doing it. Right, what's their excuse for messing with labor office? Sect leader, they represented the elite area in testing disciples' level. Using the disciples challenging them as an excuse, they slaughtered many. Yuling reported. Xia Weiwei nodded, with no third party around, no matter what we say they'll just twist it in their favor. And with Venerable Sure at their backs, it will only do us harm instead. Our only flaw is that they came to test the disciples as representatives of the elite area. Did you 3 tell them anything of the sort? Xia Weiwei turned to the fiends to find them shaking their heads, all except the yellow fatty, choosing to look anywhere else but at him. I knew it was weird and now they had a good excuse. Xia Weiwei shook his head. Fiend Yang and Fiend Gui raised an eyebrow and sect leader asked, what did you tell them? Nothing, just Yu Juan was whining about how she wanted to represent us in testing the elite candidates and fulfill her duty as senior sister. I thought she was only playing around and agreed. Dumbass. Everyone sighed. Fiend Yin turned solemn, with the labor office and elite area entangled, we can't touch the two. How do we go about solving this mess? Where's Zhuofan? Why wasn't he around? Xia Weiwei asked. Venerable Bai bowed. He was in a rush to handle some matters and hasn't been seen in days. Then let him handle it when he gets back. He's better at twisting the rules than Venerable Sure ever could. Xia Weiwei snickered and left the others puzzled. No matter how big of a genius Zhuofan was, he was but a disciple. He can do what we can't. They weren't just any elites but the elites of some old-timers. Chapter 584, Emergence. Chapter 584, Emergence. The silent cave was a mess. Zhuofan was still sitting on the hard stone floor, his face no longer contorted with pain. After a bitter fight to the death against the ninth heaven dragon power, it ended in Zhuofan's favor, taming all its savagery in this prolonged battle. Zhuofan's soul was compressing now, bit by bit, with the dragon power roaming at its center in the form of a dragon, on the cusp of fusion. The fusion progressed as a hazy fog covered his soul and the compression continued. Then the hazy fog broke with the dazzling light coming from within and unleashing a strong force making Zhuofan's soul bathe in the light. After his soul got covered by the 5 colored lights, Zhuofan's mind was still as grave as earlier. Zhuofan himself was sitting there like a statue. Roar. But then draconic roars came from within his mind, from within the colored light, followed by 4 claws and a 1,000-meter-long dragon. The prismatic light stuck to its body, forming its scales. Its mighty visage instilled power and dignity. Zhuofan opened his now draconic eyes and unleashed a howl at the sky. The mighty dragon power pulverized anything it touched, shaking even Impermanence 5's barrier. And with it the elders themselves. Elder Shi spoke for everyone when he relayed his shock. The power of the heaven dragon soul is so amazing even as it has just formed. The only reason Vicissitude's barrier still stands is because Sir Len's the earth dragon soul. The kid is a true gem. Haha, true. It's my first time seeing the heaven dragon soul as well, and I must say, it truly is one mighty force. Elder Yuan nodded. Zhuofan calmed down after that, feeling out the changes in him. His eyes wandered about the wrecked cave as the dazzling dragon soul turned them into draconic eyes. It only went to show that the fusion was a smashing success and Zhuofan had remained himself. The dragon soul fused with his soul and took its form. So even if his body would be crushed, plastered or pulverized, his soul would just fly away to steal another body. The soul ability of ethereal stage. Speaking of soul power, he had left radiant stage way behind him. It was like giving his soul an armor. But a radiant stage against an ethereal stage was like a 3-year-old against a 7-feet tower of muscle. Though in Zhuofan's case, it'd be like a tower of muscle inside a 3-year-old. Destined to give one some nasty surprises, death included. Haha, first layer of radiant stage and first layer of ethereal soul. I'm an abomination in the truest sense. Zhuofan chuckled. Not even he fathomed that this advancement would bring about such bizarre changes. Then again, since he wasn't exactly an orthodox cultivator, it was a given. The space rippled and a red glow came out from his dantian. The bloody glow shone everywhere and rotted anything it touched. Faltering, Zhuofan entered meditation at once, only to find his blood infant was in the radiant stage too. Blood infant was a spirit of this world, and in the radiant stage it had a dreadful soul power, exponentially better than your average expert. It could even turn into a blood blade, rending an ethereal stage expert's soul into nothing. Blood infant became more and more horrifying as it grew in cultivation. It was this sole reason that made Saint Patriarch Blood Demon such an awesome figure in the sacred domain. This surprise filled him with confidence in fighting an ethereal stage expert. With Dragon Soul by his side and the Blood Infant sneaking in a few hits, who could touch him? Elder Yuan made a sign and the Earth Dragon Soul returned to him. He held his beard while chuckling. Now that the Heaven Dragon Soul has taken form, all is settled. Release the barrier. Yes, sir. The 5 bowed. But the flash of red beat them to it, slamming into the barrier and staggering them. What? Shaking, Elder Shi groaned and earned Elder Yuan's odd gaze. What's wrong? The punk made a soul attack and took us by surprise. Elder Shi's face was twisted in horror. Elder Yuan shook his head. It's fine. He was just testing out Heaven Dragon Soul's power. That's not it. Elder Shi continued. The first wave was indeed the Heaven Dragon Soul's might, but the second one was filled with malice and darkness. It's like 2 opposite souls. Say what? Elder Yuan frowned, deep in thought. Does that mean the kid is hiding more secrets? Boom. A huge noise came from the cave and shook the Impermanence 5 into stepping back 5 times. Each of these elders showed their surprise in an odd way. Elder Yuan asked, what is it this time? Elder Shi needed a long time to gather his wits. The kid broke our barrier. Elder Yuan was flabbergasted. How? These 5 were 4th-layer ethereal stage experts that combined could handle a 6th-layer expert. How did it come to having their barrier popped like a balloon? Heaven Dragon Soul was strong and all, but not that outrageous. Just what kind of secrets are you still hiding, kid? Elder Yuan sighed. Unaware that Zhuo Fan was stumped as he was by the effect. The place where he was had long since stopped being a cave. 100 meters around him, there was not a single thing. Everything had turned to dust the instant it got in range. Divine Eye of the Void's 4th stage, Absolute Domain, Space Crusher. Zhuo Fan's right eye had 4 golden halos flashing. He not only got a Heaven Dragon soul, his Blood Infant was upgraded, now having an unheard of soul power, and even his Divine Eye of the Void got an upgrade. It was a universal move, perfect for when one was in danger, annihilating everything within 100 meters with intense vibrations. He'd kill without leaving anything behind. No matter what armies were sent for him, nothing could touch him. Heavenly Emperor's power lived up to the legend. Zhuo Fan grinned, and his confidence soared in having one more ace to deal with experts. With his safety guaranteed, he'd have no fear left. It even tore through the barrier just now. In this 100-meter area he was the king, god even. All emperor-level arts are mystical and godlike, ha. Cackling inside, Zhuo Fan strutted out. When he had arrived it was a perfectly neat cave, and now it was an odd hole. As everything within was turned to dust. Chapter 585, Fury. Chapter 585, Fury. Steward Zhuo, you're finally out, ha. Congratulations on your smooth advancement. Elder Yuan popped out of nowhere and cupped his hands. Zhuo Fan merely nodded, all thanks to you for giving me such a great place. It would have been a pain anywhere else. Elder Yuan smiled. Steward Zhuo, don't you want to know what happened these days? Like the barrier? With your wisdom you should already have some guesses. Yeah, I have. What about it? Don't you care? No, should I? Zhuo Fan spoke. Elder Yuan was dumbstruck, then shook his head. Here I thought the first thing you'd do was to have me over a barrel over this. I even had an excuse ready. Sigh, now all that work has gone to waste. Haha, I thought as much. What's the point of asking if I don't get the truth? Zhuo Fan laughed. Elder Yuan, to be honest, my greatest gain in the demon scheming sect was meeting you. Expounding with Sir on the nature of the world has opened my eyes more than my entire life, especially about human nature's 4 realms. Which 4? Elder Yuan was interested. Zhuo Fan smiled. The first, ignorance, it is walking about aimlessly. Second, aware of oneself but not of one's place, defined by misplaced overconfidence and conceit. Third, knowing oneself and their place, allowing one to pierce anything but their hearts are filled with pain. Fourth, knowing the wise, opening one's eyes and clearing the fog within. Elder Yuan nodded. Zhuo Fan continued, Elder Yuan, I've been stuck at the 3rd realm with a sharp eyesight yet a heavy heart. I bore the whole world on my shoulders, fearing any misstep and holding myself back. But now that I'm in the 4th realm, who you are and where I am has lost its meaning. All that matters is your kind intentions. I don't even feel like knowing who those experts were that set the barrier. Or I'd be required to pay them an immense favor. Not knowing means not paying back, haha. Haha, quite an idealist you are. Elder Yuan shook his head. Zhuo Fan, your mind is sharp and devious. You might look at things with a casual glance, but all of these are just tricks, of no use to the world as a whole. While peering into human condition, walking the path to the truth, that is the greatest wisdom of all. Steward Zhuo, you have finally ventured down this path, getting closer to the Tao. Your future is limitless. That's if Sir will keep on helping me. Of course you are the hope of demon scheming sect. I will always have your back. Elder Yuan's eyes shone. The old and the young fellows grew closer in these rare moments, even as each of them had tons of secrets. At least they were frank with each other. An hour passed and the two returned to the elite labor office at the cemetery, but the scene left Zhuo Fan dazed. Why are there just a handful of testers at the doors? It's been just a few days and the trend has already changed? He'd be hard-pressed to topple the inner sect now. Zhuo Fan turned to see Elder Yuan mimic his surprise. While Zhuo Fan was in seclusion, the old guy had looked after him and no one knew of the elite's trip down to the labor office. Kuei Gang and Yue rushed over in joy. Master, you're back. What the hell happened? It's only been a few days, so why is this place deserted? Zhuo Fan frowned. The two sighed and explained how the elites wiped the floor with them. Kuei Gang gnashed his teeth. I and Yue weren't here either, or he'd never touch my father. I will. You will what? You'll only throw your life away. Don't think for a second that a set of 9th grade demonic treasures can fight an 8th layer radiant stage expert. Who is stronger or weaker comes down to one's own power in the end. Zhuo Fan sighed, teaching his disciple to shed his overconfidence, despite his own eyes flashing with killing intent. Yue lamented, "Master, the laborer's dignity has taken a heavy blow, with some outer and inner disciples even slumping into remorse for coming here. Naturally, after being trampled like that, they'd never get the nerve to meet them until they can settle the grudge." Zhuo Fan squinted and pondered, "Listen up and listen well, invite the 3 elite area's venerables for an apology banquet." Yue asked curiously, "Apology for what? Didn't our disciple challenge them with a heavy hand? Of course we have to make amends. To show my sincerity, I will even present them the demonic treasures they asked for everyone to see. Both sides will be at peace. Oh, and the labor office's venerables and elders must come as well, or the elite spots for the labor office will be fewer. They came here to pick a fight and now we're inviting them for a drink?" Kuei Gang was fuming. "We are no longer the labor office they once knew. All inner disciples look at us with admiration. Why should we play the victim?" Zhuo Fan snorted and pointed at the ignorant kid, while telling Elder Yuan, "See that? The second realm of human nature, knows himself but nothing else, arrogant beyond reason." Elder Yuan nodded with a chuckle. Kuei Gang was baffled. "What are you standing around for? Get on with it. Am I the manager here or you?" Zhuo Fan eyed him coldly. Grumbling inside, he obeyed his master's order, cupping his hands and huffing away with an equally unwilling Yue. Elder Yuan chuckled, "Steward Zhuo, while I did say you just stepped on the road to Dao, you're still up to your old tricks. The banquet is destined to run red." "Humph, all that wisdom only works for myself while petty tricks are left for these swines. I kept my head down so far so that no ethereal stage expert came knocking. But now I don't give a rat's ass. Anyone that pushes me will find himself 6 feet under." Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed and he boiled with a bloodthirst so thick the few disciples around the doors shivered and were knocked out cold. Elder Yuan nodded. This was where Guihu and Zhuo Fan differed. The former's power was scattered, his mighty savage energy not used to its full potential and left many openings. While the latter never gave off a whiff of bloodlust like an average Joe, a pushover. But push him hard enough and all that fire inside would explode like an unstoppable flood. "I finally see you angry. That means you still care about something. Haha, go wild, knock yourself out. I'm behind you all the way." Elder Yuan smiled. Meanwhile, 3 fiends of hell and the sect leader were discussing how to handle the 2 problem disciples. With 2nd Elder and 7th Elder behind them and Venerable Sure on their side, they had no good excuse to use. But without putting these bastards in their place, how could the elite selection from the labor office could go on? While they were racking their brains, Kuei Gang stepped in with Zhuo Fan's invitation. The 4 were dumbstruck for a second there. What apology? What is he up to? We've been on his side all this time and yet he is wimping out, going for some apology banquet? Fiend Yang asked. Fiendine ventured, is he trying to appease both sides? It still doesn't mean you have to be so meek. He'll turn into a joke for the inner sect. Slapping the table, Fiend Yang said, I thought he was a genius, only to find him garbage. What good is strength when you can't use it? Xiaoyu squinted and smiled, I know his style. He must be up to something. He'll hold an apology banquet for your sake. Just let him have it and play along. And he wants to do is give demonic treasures. Oh, and don't forget about my share. Take along the 2nd Elder and 7th Elder as well. Since it's an apology banquet, we can't have the party's grandpas missing now, do we? Ha ha ha. The 3 fiends were stumped at his laughter, with Fiend Yang saying, What's with you? Do you really want to ease the tension? How are we supposed to handle those brats after this? Handle what when amends are made? Haha, now leave this matter be. I'm just curious how the kid is going to end it. Hope I won't have to step in. Xiaoyu's eyes flashed. Chapter 586, Apology Banquet. Chapter 586, Apology Banquet. A secluded valley was shocked awake from its peaceful mood as an endless line of people went in carrying large trays filled with exotic dishes made of exquisite beasts like a work of art. Well, sure, cultivators were above the secular world, overcoming the human condition and its limitations, but they still had manners. Like joining friends and kin alike for a joyous or saddening occasion. They'd find joy within the joy and fight sadness with closeness. Yet the people coming and going with trays wore depressed looks and plain clothes, thinking the feast would blow up. Guihu, Kuei-lang, Tai-ing and Yu-ling sat glum at the first table, with such a scary look even the waiters avoided them, lest their oppressive aura stiffened them or scared them to the core. Crack. Kuei Lang punched the table. For God's sakes, has Steward Zhuo lost it? They're the ones in the wrong yet we're making amends? This is outrageous. No matter how much compromise I've made in my life, I'd never stoop so low. Yuling huffed. Taiying shook his head. Why are you here then? Get off your ass and scram. And how exactly can we do that when it's Steward Zhuo's feast? We have to show our respect for all he's done for us. Kuei Lang grumbled under his breath, then swore, I'm damn curious though, why are you here? You're both big-shot outer and inner disciples. I can't believe you're taking it so well with your styles. Those two have those elders behind them and we can't even touch them and now we're even saying sorry. Are you that eager to shame yourself? Taiying squinted and restrained his anger. I'm here for Steward Zhuo as well. Qi Feng's last strike left my core on the verge of being crushed and I would have become a waste. It's with Steward Zhuo's help that I made a recovery and even entered the Radiant stage. This is the least I can do. The heaven-reaching pill? Kuei Lang gasped. Such a mystical pill, it saved my son and Yuling's sister like nothing. Steward Zhuo is divine to save the Forsaken. I don't think there's any elder or venerable in the sect capable of what he has done. Yet today. Kuei Lang shook his head in sadness, following with, Senior Brother Guihu, why are you here then? Zhuo Fan said I can follow him anywhere, so listening to him is basic. Guihu spoke unconcerned. The others smiled. They'd gotten to know each other after so many days hanging around, each having their own reasons for sticking with Zhuo Fan. Kuei Lang and Yu Ling did it to return the favor and in no small part because they felt he had the better offer for a brighter future. Taiying was here to get his revenge from 3 years ago by helping Zhuo Fan crush the inner sect. Getting the meat out of the oldie's mouth was the best way to do it. And sure enough, the inner sect was forced into action, sending their grandchildren to make a mess of things. From this rotten and dishonorable move, it was clear that their meat wasn't the only thing stolen, but their whole plate too. Taiying might be outraged by this feast, but was quite happy overall. The magnate Zhuo Fan had achieved the impossible, making the inner sect, that had withstood for thousands of years, wobble. While the simplest of the four, Guihu, was part of the winning crowd through his master, Grand Elder, but chose to stick with Zhuo Fan for one simple reason, to sharpen himself. His master warned him that only by following a resolute person could he improve his own heart. Which, funnily enough, the sect lacked very much. Dad, keep it together, those guys are coming in. Besides the elders and venerables, there are also outer and inner disciples. You all need to get a hold of yourself and not fall for their taunts. Kuei Gang and Yuer came over with a sullen look and a warning. Kuei Lang squinted and snapped, this is too damn much. Those old coots must have called them to make us look bad. That's the least of our problems. They're surely up to something vile to shame us and force our hand. They're looking for any excuse to get rid of us. Like how they sent those two elites for us. Yu Ling warned with a glint in her eyes, Ganger is right. We must keep calm. Kuei Lang snorted in anger and sat back down while the other two nodded. Venerable Bai watched the four of them with a sigh as he said to Venerable Qi, what's the point of all this? Zhuo Fan pulled the carpet from under the inner sect with a well-placed trick, attracting the disciples with heaps of resources. But now the other side has used disciples to crush the labor office's dignity. And holding a feast now will only make it worse for them. Sect leader said Zhuo Fan is a mastermind, so why would he make this dumb move? I'd have clobbered him by now if not for sect leader's order. Seeing the obvious smugness on the oldies filling in at their expense and the glum labor office's oldies, Venerable Qi couldn't tell if he had made the right choice or not. The crew goes down with the ship. The punk no longer wants to mess with the inner sect and now he even wants to apologize. Everyone's heart burned with rage but they had no place to vent. Venerable Qi sighed, they're all forced to come by sect leader's orders. No one here is interested in shaming themselves for that brat. Venerable Bai sighed. Meanwhile, in Venerable Shi's cozy home, second elder and seventh elder wore fancy new threads matching their cocky grin. Venerable Shi, shall we go targeter? Second elder laughed. Venerable Shi smiled, you two are the stars of today's show. I could never take your spotlight. Venerable Shi is too kind. With you being the leader of inner sect, how can it not include you? It's fine. How can I attend it if sect leader isn't there either? Won't I be called out as picking on the weak? Venerable Shi grinned. Seventh elder pondered and laughed. Getting Venerable Shi to help us in this show will be giving them too much honor. Come, the two of us are more than enough. Venerable Shi nodded, agreeing with seventh elder's idea. They're not good enough to make me appear. Second elder exclaimed, right, we can't let them get smug by any means. But to think they'd come up with an apology banquet. I still thought we were in a deadlock with the labor office. Seventh elder said. Venerable sure chuckled. It's out of my predictions as well, but it makes sense. Zhuofan is a wise and sharp kid and is only doing this for Xiaoyue's sake. With Xiaoyue unable to help, all problems land on him. With the labor office being Xiaoyue's grand plan, if it goes belly up, he'll take the fall. Being under so much pressure forced him to reassess the situation and show his goodwill to us, even apologize. We shouldn't mock him for reaching out. But even if we do, he'd be smiling harder, making us smack him harder still. Aha, second elder mocked. The other two joined. Venerable sure nodded. Exactly, does he really think we're just gonna give up after a little chat? Humph, we're going to come on him so hard there'll be nothing left of him or the elite labor office. And he brought this upon himself too. Venerable sure, we will definitely make the punk have no dignity to speak of after this. He might even commit suicide, ha. The two snickered on their way to the banquet. Venerable sure's crafty grin only grew and grew. Chapter 587, Elite Strife. Chapter 587, Elite Strife. In a quaint pavilion, a girl was pacing around bored and kicked the water when the boredom got the best of her. It was none other than one of the culprits that had wrecked the labor office, Pang Yujuan. Fiend Yang chewed her out the instant he got back, though he couldn't do much else, not with a good excuse in place and the elders on their backs. A mere slap on the wrist. The fiends didn't want a blowout and refrained from being harsher, only putting them on house arrest. In Yujuan's case, she was so bored that she had nothing better to do than to kick water. Junior sister Yujuan is so refined and elegant as she plays in the water. Yujuan paused mid-kick and mocked, what else is there to do? While I am stuck at home for so long, it's either this or go stir crazy. With a snicker, Chi Feng walked over and whispered in her ear. She perked up in an instant, you really brought your grandpa's halberd? Grandpa gave it to me. He figured the three old coots will do something like this and gave me the 7th grade demonic treasure. And this heaven piercer can crush any barrier. The old coots might have set one up around the elite area, but we can now just walk out of it. Chi Feng raised a smug eyebrow. Yujuan was giddy, jumping all over. What are we waiting for? Let's blow this barrier open and go have some real fun. Hey junior sister, I'm not done talking yet. Why the rush? Chi Feng cut her enthusiasm by holding her back as his eyes glinted. He laughed at her perplexity. Junior sister, we're not out on a stroll. Grandpa gave me the heaven piercer and a mission. It's not just to get out of this boredom, but to do something as well. What, tell me? You know we're like two peas in a pod, your problem is my problem. She hit her chest with pride. Chi Feng nodded and smiled, nothing hard, just go wilder this time. Do you know why the old coots have gotten us stuck here, or why they've forbidden elites from leaving the area? Why? Batting her big eyes, Yujuan asked, engrossed. Chi Feng grinned, you wouldn't believe even if I told you. After we messed up the labor office, they are now holding an apology banquet. Our two grandpas and the old coots represent us in accepting the apology. If we go as well, we'd be sure to humiliate and taunt them until they can't hold it in. That will give our grandpas the excuse to crush the labor office. But the old coots want to avoid it at all costs. Really? Yujuan laughed after a moment. Who the hell is that spineless elder or venerable running labor office anyway? He got smacked around the first time and now he turns the other cheek forward. There's no way such a guy can match the inner sect's venerables and elders employees. Hi. Chi Feng nodded. I heard the one leading the labor office is just a disciple. No elder or venerable would just bend a knee like this. And the guy is even sect leader's aide, forcing the others to listen to him. But I bet that after this stunt, none of them will ever give him any attention. Right? Hi, he only cares about elites, yet he trusted this important task to someone out of his circle? No way a disciple can match the elders and venerables, and now look at him, bowing down to apologize. Yujuan giggled with a naughty glint in her eyes. Then she grabbed Chi Feng and ran outside. What are we waiting for? We have a job to do. I'm dying to see which cowardly disciple thought himself so high and mighty and now is about to get a beating. Chi Feng smiled along, a fool without a doubt. He must have got sect leader's favor to lead this job and now he's in a sorry state from botching the job. All he can do is give up, haha. Yujuan giggled as the two went for the barrier. Whoosh! Just then a white ribbon shot for their heads. They panicked and barely dodged it. The ribbon slammed into a cliff like a sword, right as a gentle lady floated down on it. Her smile was bright, but her eyes were deadly cold. The elite area is sealed. No one can get in or out, especially you two brats. Did you forget already? Oh, it's senior sister Bai Lian. And here I thought it's someone important. Yu Juan mocked, just like how Venerable Bai can't handle our grandpas, neither can you touch us. Bai Lian said, grandfather may be a venerable and displeased with some people, but it has nothing to do with me. I have not come here to settle grudges but to uphold the rules. Cool. Chi Feng gave his thumbs up. I do admire senior sister's civic duty. It's why I like you. But it's best that you turn a blind eye today. We're of the same cultivation and Yu Juan is in the 4th layer radiant stage. With 2-on-1, senior sister can't handle us both. Well, aren't you confident? Her smooth eyebrow arched in a taunt. Chi Feng, you've not once beaten me. When did you get so cocky? Ha ha ha. Chi Feng laughed. Senior sister, that is because of my endless and undeniable admiration for you. But now that I have a job to do, I can't go easy on you anymore. So you mean you've always held back? Why else? You think some broad like you can ever match me? Chi Feng sneered. Bai Lian nodded, then let me see what you're really made of. Bai Lian shot for the two as the white ribbon flew in her hand. The massive yuan qi made the couple tense up and dodge away. Boom. What was left behind was a dozens of meter-deep crater ruining the place. Chi Feng was startled while Yu Juan paled. He could put up a tough front all he wanted, but he knew fully well that Bai Lian was as strong as him. Even though he never went all out against her till now, he knew that even if he did that, victory wasn't certain. Choosing instead to bide his time for the right moment to finish her off. He never thought that time would be now. Firestorm. Seeing the hundreds of ribbons coming at them again, Chi Feng swiped with his 2 fingers and a fire sea exploded forward. Yu Juan got to work as well, holding her palms together and unleashing a tornado into the fire sea to amplify its power. While weaker, the two made for a good match in skills and increased Chi Feng's move's power by 40%. Moon's wind embrace. Yu Juan shouted again. At this point, Bai Lian turned serious. The hundreds of ribbons shot like meteors, absorbing the fire and wind, then smashing into the couple. Meteor shower. Feeling that great power upon them, the two were startled. Even women were capable of incredible feats. But then a cool breeze made the meteors fizzle out before they could hit them, ending up slumping on the ground. The grass withered and the earth turned black. Chapter 588, True Intent. Chapter 588, True Intent. Acid rain, Wuxia? Bai Lian shouted. A laughter came. Junior sister Bai Lian, let's all take it easy so we might meet again. The two juniors are only going out to get some fresh air. What's the harm in that? Whoosh. A youth in green floated down, his smile twisted, and his power making even Bai Lian falter back 5 steps. He got even stronger. Bai Lian squinted. Chi Feng was overjoyed. Senior brother Wuxia, you're out of seclusion. What great timing. Haha, I've been out for a while now and I'm only here now to help. Wuxia snickered, you do your job and I'll handle mine. And that's to get you out of here. Chi Feng bobbed his head. Haha, senior brother Wuxia is Venerable Shi's prized pupil. We're on the same side. Wuxia nodded and turned to the frosty Bai Lian. Junior sister, with me in the 9th layer of radiant stage and you being in the 8th, there's no way you can win. I am not one to be lenient in my attacks, but out of respect for Venerable Bai, I hope you won't fight me and will let them go. While each one of them had a big shot behind them, neither wanted to take things too far. As disciples, incurring the wrath of an elder or venerable, even when under sect leaders' protection, they would still suffer the consequences. The sect's rules stating they couldn't kill disciples might protect them if they went after some nobody disciples, while killing the precious kin of some elder would leave them with no place to hide. All that was left to do against a madman bent on taking you down with him was to give in and die. That being said, while all elites were savages and cruel, they knew when to stop. Like now for instance, Wuxia had Venerable Shi behind him, but killing Venerable Bai's granddaughter would render Venerable Shi's protection useless. Bai Lian took a deep breath and shouted, Wuxia, the 3 venerables have asked us to patrol the barrier and stop anyone who exits it. You know me well enough to know that I'm not going to stop just because of a few words. Ha ha ha, true. Wuxia chuckled. I'd have let this one go if it were any other time, but oh well. Lucia's eyes hardened and he shot a green whirlwind at Bai Lian. The pressure took her breath away, even more so when the acid within could even melt her bones. The caustic scent spread its foul odor everywhere. Bai Lian faltered 3 steps, coming to an impasse. She knew Lucia was going easy or he'd be striking with something she couldn't cope with, without even giving her a chance to breathe. Lucia wanted her to get lost. If you can't even stop this, scram? Bai Lian felt even more morose. Just this first strike showed the gap between their levels. Lucia snickered at her difficultly, the mockery enraging Bai Lian. Lucia, your arrival won't change a thing. The shout announced the arrival of a yellow light shooting from the ground, meeting the green whirlwind and scattering it. Earth canopy. Crack. Lucia was pushed 2 steps back with a dark face. Whoosh. A youth in gray with sharp features, blue eyes, pointy nose and thick lips as well as large ears, stood next to Bai Lian. The mood of the other 3 sank. Lucia gnashed his teeth. Qi Changlong. You're out too? Just in time too. Who else can stop your murderous tendencies, Lucia? Qi Changlong snorted and barked at the pair. You too, I know what you've done and Fiendine warned me that you'll be up to something. You won't get to touch labor office again. Big words for someone who's alone. You can't stop all of us. Lucia glared. Qi Changlong, it's time for me to take that best elite title from you here and now. Qi Changlong mocked. Lucia, you've been after it for a while now, a shame you'll never have it. We'll know after we fight. You're no match for me after my seclusion. I will take that best elite title and after the Double Dragon gathering, I'll become the sect leader's successor. Go ahead and try. Qi Changlong snorted. The 2 were at odds, ready to come to blows at any second. Qi Feng and Yu Juan tensed. This was a fight to settle the next sect leader. Lucia was always 1 step short of beating Qi Changlong but had always worked hard to overcome this small gap. The 2 ended up as Lucia's supporters. Give him hell, senior brother? Then they thought better of it. Wait, we gotta go humiliate laborers, not join this bustle. Senior brother Lucia, maybe you should first figure out how to get us out, Qi Feng began. A loud bang cutting him off was the answer for him as the barrier above them shook and broke, as the bright sun's rays shined on the 5 elites. Eyes twitching, the 5's hostilities ceased right away. Someone broke the barrier. Whoosh. A thin figure came over while they were still out of it. Pardon me, but could you point me in the direction of Qi Feng and Pang Yujuan? After another round of eye twitching, they looked at the sloppy guy in shabby clothes, carrying a broom and smiling kindly. Who are you? Bai Lian sized him up, but all she got was a first-layer Radiant Stages vibes and that made her relax. The guy scratched his nose. Oh, where are my manners? I am the boss of labor office, Zhuo Fan. You can just call me the coolest, best laborer the demon scheming sect has ever seen, Steward Zhuo. We're holding an apology banquet, you know? With 7th and 2nd elders already present, how can we miss the stars of the show, Qi Feng and Yu Juan? The feast will never achieve its height without them. So you're that rotten waste, Zhuo Fan. Did you not get your face slapped hard enough that you thought to turn the other cheek forward? Yu Juan mocked. The guiding venerables feared that we'll make a scene at the banquet and had us stuck here. Yet you punk have just waltzed in. You've come right into my lap. You've really opened my eyes as well? Qi Feng pipped in. Zhuo Fan smiled back. I take it that you're the 2 brats. And what if we are? Are you going to bang your head and beg yours truly to go to that dump again and smack you some more? Pang Yujuan snickered. Qi Feng laughed alongside her. Zhuo Fan grinned. Oh, you've understood it all wrong. This apology banquet is for 2nd and 7th elders in particular. Ain't that the same? They're our grandpas and we're the main stars here. Yu Juan stuck her chin out. Zhuo Fan shook his head with a smile. Oh no, you've completely misunderstood me. We're apologizing to the elders alone. Because, you know, their precious grandchildren are about to die at my hand. Zhuo Fan's eyes took on a savage glint, his face hardened as he looked at his prey with a grin. Chapter 589, Sweeping Elites. Chapter 589, Sweeping Elites. A domineering wave swept everyone, like solidified bloodthirst, like an unending flood coming to drown them, like the world crashing down on them. Their hearts were stricken with utter disbelief at this display. Some fresh Radiant Stage nobody laborer just released a more savage aura than their masters. Who the hell is this guy? The more they looked into Zhuo Fan's eyes the worse they felt, like facing a peak radiant stage expert. Zhuofan, you two-bit filthy laborer would dare come to the elite area? Suicidal much? Qi Feng threatened while shying 2 steps away. His cawing had the same tone and attitude, yet even a blind man could tell that he was running away. Why else would he waste time prattling instead of outright fighting? Monologuing only cemented his cowardice, all bark and no bite. A true boss on his turf would not just stand by and attack at once. All this while, Zhuofan had a creepy little smile on his face and shook his head in utter disappointment. All of them were at a standstill with no one moving a muscle. What the hell? Whose turf is this again? Near-peak Radiant Stage experts are just standing by, instead of attacking a fresh Radiant Stage cultivator. Yet the ones affected by the flood of bloodthirst found it totally appropriate. Their instincts were screaming at them that this guy was no pushover. Qi Feng reacted the worst of them all. He was sweating like a pig from the eerie vibe that he was getting, that not even Guihu could match. Guihu's power wasn't focused, while this guy unleashed it all upon them with impunity. After fighting Guihu and meeting Zhuofan, Qi Feng came to learn the meaning of worlds apart. If Guihu was merely a wolf's pup, this guy was a demon having gone through thousands of killing fields. It's obvious now that this kid isn't the sect leader's aide for nothing. Qi Feng's heart was a mess. Zhuofan grinned as he watched them. You two made quite a scene a few days ago at the labor office and even said it was the labor office's challenge. So what? Aren't you apologizing for it? Yuzhuan screamed her moral high ground, even while she shifted ever so slowly behind Qi Feng. Zhuofan nodded. True, I admit to everything. As for what comes next, it's not important. Haha, since you proclaim that the laborers disrespect their betters, here I am disrespecting you all. By sect's rules, when a low status fights another disciple of higher status, the capital punishment isn't pursued. So, are you coming at me all at once or one at a time? Zhuofan eyed the couple, holding the broom over his shoulder. Yet those eyes drove fear into the two's hearts. Fresh Radiant Stage cultivation aside, that thick bloodthirst was a blatant sign of what was about to happen. Zhuofan, there may be such a rule, but since it's outside of any competition they can refuse your challenge. And since you've burst into the elite area, you've broken the rules. It is you who has some answering to do. Wuxia shouted. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow and shook his head. Since he couldn't ascertain Zhuofan's capabilities, he tried shielding the couple. By saying this, he was actually alluding that Zhuofan would have to fight the entire elite area. Let's fight if you want, but can you take all of us? Would Zhuofan shake in his boots due to some scamps? Zhuofan put on his most condescending and demeaning smile as he taunted them. Stop barking and fight already. Aren't there more of you? Don't worry, I will take full responsibility since this time, it's the truth. Cocky prick. Their faces shook with annoyance and this comment made them all see him as an enemy, even the earlier infighting stopped. We don't give a flying damn about those two, but how dare you come to challenge the elite area? What do you take us for, dirt? Though he is a weird one. Qi Changlong and Bai Lian looked at Zhuofan with hostility. Wuxia had a smug smile. The fool has dug his own grave by challenging everyone. No matter how freaky he is, no fresh Radiant Stage cultivator can take on all elites. And when those foolish laborers hear of this, they'll never set foot here. Haha, 2 birds with 1 stone. Wuxia cackled in his delusions as his eyes shone with an eerie green glow. The couple now had some good shoulders to lean on and shed all their fear. What came next were tens of people in fancy clothes surrounding the scene. One of them cupped his hands at them and said, Seniors, this guy just broke the elite area's barrier. We were just about to capture him but he moved too fast. Thank you seniors for holding him down. Breaking the sect's barriers isn't how you challenge one's seniors. Wuxia grinned, having found Zhuofan's weakness. Even if we kill you now, the sect leader can't touch us. Zhuofan saw through him and laughed. True, if you can kill me, that is. Ha, not me but us. Wuxia took it upon himself to share this responsibility with everyone present. On one hand he'd finish the job Master had for him, to threaten the sect leader, and on the other hand, he'd get away scot-free. Don't just stand there, attack. Capture him dead or alive. The oblivious newcomers obeyed without second-guessing his motivations or the fact that he was using them. What good would come from shedding sect leader's aide's blood anyway? Wuxia knew it all too well and let others do the dirty work. Zhuofan snorted and his broom shifted. I said I've come to challenge the elite area, so all of you come at once. Sending some nobodies won't even make me break a sweat. Whoosh. A mere sweep of the broom, covered in a red glow of course, had the space whistling. Then came the bang. The dozens of Radiant Stage experts felt as if something slammed in their chests and coughed blood as they got flung into the air. They soon made intimate contact with the pavement, landing out cold. It happened so fast they couldn't even figure out how they got beaten. SSS. The main six gasped in shock at Zhuo Fan's outrageous show of strength. Dozens of Radiant Stage experts defeated in one blow? No way. How is he just a fresh Radiant Stage cultivator? The couple started shivering all over, incredulous that the worthless labor office would hide such a monster. Their knees softened and they slumped to the ground. Zhuo Fan eyed the two with a creepy smile. You came into my turf to harm and kill my fellow disciples. Today I will make you pay by taking your worthless heads with me. Zhuo Fan shot for the two, his overwhelming aura stopping them from even taking a stand. Like deers in the headlights, their minds blanked, forgetting they had a good pair of legs under them to run with. Wait, they're elites like us. You can't harm them. Qi Changlong's sense of duty kicked in as he scrounged up the courage to face Zhuo Fan and struck by sending a yellow glow from his palms. It had the hardness of a rock and the power of the earth. And Zhuo Fan handled it with a broom sweep, crushing the glow and hitting Qi Changlong in the chest. Qi Changlong coughed up blood and was ashen. Chapter 590, Killed. Chapter 590, Kill. Whoosh. Hundreds of ribbons came at Zhuo Fan and he replied with another sweep as he went for his original target. He didn't even spare the attacker a glance. His sweep sent a suction force that got all the ribbons trapped in a quagmire, unable to escape. In that instant, his broom was covered in ribbons. Zhuo Fan flicked it and sent a powerful shockwave through them back at Bai Lian, sending her flying. Like Qi Changlong before her, she coughed up blood as well and paled. Zhuo Fan twisted his wrist and the ribbons broke apart as he sped towards his quarry. Not once did the attack even make him pause. Bai Lian was overwhelmed by how useless she felt. The elite area hailed her as one of the strong ones, but reality showed there would always be someone out there stronger than her. How is he so freaking strong? None of us can match him. Wuxia was dumbstruck. This laborer is perhaps too monstrous. The lucky couple shuddered as they shirked backwards while pleading, Senior brother Wuxia, what do we do? Don't panic, I'll use poison to stop him while you run. Wuxia was shocked as well but was confident in his poison arts. Poison was a vile path to tread on, but not without its perks. It excelled in infecting one's core. You might have a huge yuan qi and a tough body, but poison will destroy you anyway. Wuxia shouted, Poison Dragon. Oh. A green wind shifted into a dragon as it went for Zhuo Fan. The revolting stench coming from it would send anyone's mind out of commission. Qi Feng was overjoyed as he took Yujuan and ran away. Wuxia grinned. Hee, let's see you fight something you can't touch, freak. Anyone who has ever touched it has died. Even if you can handle it, it'll at least buy them some time. Crack. With a loud sound, Zhuo Fan smashed the dragon with another broom swing. It didn't slow Zhuo Fan down at all as black energy covered his body like a true demon. The poison got sucked into the blackness and the attack was neutralized in an instant. Fuck. Wuxia was tongue-tied as his prized art was rendered worthless. Crud, this freak is invincible in every way. Be a good dog and scram? Zhuo Fan got in his face and swept him out of the way. He did exactly what everyone else had done so far, coughed up blood and turned pale. Though his eyes were filled with shock as he muttered, How, just how? Oh. A heavy wind pushed Qi Feng from behind, like death had latched onto him. He saw Zhuo Fan right behind him, bearing that creepy smile which froze his blood. He forced himself to act and pointed with 2 fingers. A huge sea of fire shot for Zhuo Fan and Yujuan helped by adding wind to the mix. Although against Zhuo Fan they might as well not even try. Zhuo Fan didn't even need martial arts to deal with them. A mere sweep is all it took to snuff the flames. The sweep's shockwave slammed into the couple's chest till they coughed up blood again and again. Their meridians burned from the pain, incapable of using yuan qi ever again. Zhuo Fan made sure of that. Crack. Zhuo Fan's charge stopped at last, right in front of them, bearing over them with his snicker, a god mocking these insignificant ants. To the two, Zhuo Fan looked like a demon made of flesh. So many experts tried to stop this monster but all failed. Qi Changlong, Bai Lian, Wuxia, Qi Feng and Yujuan attacked at the same time yet didn't even faze him. Zhuo Fan's power was beyond what their limited psyche could think of. In just a blink, All of the elites were lying down defeated from shock and unbridled power. It was like they were fighting an elder or a venerable. Right, sect leader entrusted him with elite labor office. That's a duty reserved for elders and venerables. That proves he is no mere disciple. And we just kicked the hornet's nest by messing with him. He's got an elder's power yet is still a disciple. Sect leader has really done it this time. Qi Feng understood it all at death's door and started crying. Yujuan was too terrified to make a peep and only shook. Zhuofan grinned. What was it that you said in the labor office that laborers took advantage of you and challenged you? Aha, well here I am challenging you as well, satisfied? Pleased? Content? Bro, we're sorry. Qi Feng bawled like a baby. Bro, you are at the bottom, a laborer, yet bear outrageous power. With the sect's rule, you can kill and challenge anyone and nothing will happen to you. That's totally cheating. Everyone else echoed his grief with a nod. Hiding himself in the labor office with that strength? How many have died at his hands till now? Zhuofan shook his head. How is that unfair when you've got mountains behind you, elders and venerables? You think I don't have anything better to do than to dupe you and to make so many enemies? Yeah, Steward Zhuo is a new disciple and alone, so why would you need to make enemies? Let me go and second elder Grandpa will owe you. Catching the hint in Zhuofan's words, Qi Feng showed off his status. Yujuan did the same. My grandpa, 7th elder, will owe you as well and will leave you alone. We're only doing what we're told. Please let us go. The two begged despite Zhuofan's twisted smile. You should have realized this from the start. Now it's too late for amends. Why? The two asked. Zhuofan said, a killer must pay with the same coin. You came to labor office to kill and harm my people. What will happen to my name if I return to them empty-handed? You're doing it for those rotten laborers? Offending our grandpas just for that? Qi Feng cried, threatening again. Zhuofan, are you going to have elders hunt you down for a bunch of lowlives? Zhuofan raised a taunting eyebrow. Threatening me, is it? Aha, yes, those lowlifes are not worth a dime, but my reputation is worth mountains. Besides, you guys stole something from me and it's about time you give it back. Yujuan stammered. Zhuofan grinned. Dignity and foundation. You brats used the time I was gone to rob my laborers of their dignity, of their foundation. Without that, labor office will never stand tall in this sect. See, I have no choice. Now you can pass on with peace of mind. Zhuofan stepped on Qi Feng's neck, splattering blood everywhere. Qi Feng's eyes bulged out in shock from Zhuofan's cruelty. Or maybe stunned that there was someone in the demon scheming sect going as far as to kill him despite knowing about his grandpa. Ah! Yujuan shrieked next to Qi Feng's head. Zhuofan sent her an annoyed glance, noisy. He repeated the act with her this time and the shriek was cut short. All that was left was the horrified look in her eyes. Chapter 591, Killer Feast. Chapter 591, Killer Feast. The others were overwhelmed by the brutality. Besides Qi Feng and Yujuan being elites, they were grandchildren of elders first and foremost. Not even sect leader could touch them. Yet an anomaly appeared and killed them right in front of their eyes. Is he not afraid of making the elders go crazy? The three looked at Zhuofan with fear. He's insane, a madman uncaring of anything. They all felt danger from how easily the two were murdered, fearing they would be next on this lunatic's bucket list. Zhuofan had no time to mind the extras, taking the rolling heads and stuffing them in his thunder ring. With a content look he took off. What he left behind was mockery. And you call this the elite area? The trio hanged their heads in shame. Burning humiliation. A nobody just taunted the entire elite area and got their asses handed to them for the first time in the history of demon scheming sect. Yet what was truly humiliating was that they, the peak of demon scheming sect's talents, were unable to take even a single hit. These elites were lower than even a laborer. Then again, that was no ordinary laborer. But that was not what the world would remember. All they'd ever say was how the elites were nothing. Wuxia, do you still want to fight? Qi Changlong asked from a crater somewhere. Little Marshall Brother's face twitched, looking at the mess of the unconscious elites, and his heart sank. Qi Changlong shook his head. What's the point, right? Even if you become the best elite, it's just an empty title now. No, I will fight. I will have this title even if it's useless. It involves becoming the sect leader's successor. Lucia's eyes steeled. Chi Changlong shook his head. Bai Lian looked at the sky. Who was he? Is he really just a laborer? Haha, don't be silly. The labor office gave us only one high venerable and is under the sect and ancestors' protection. How can it just give us another disciple even more monstrous? Wuxia mocked. Bai Lian, you disdain the inner sex politics and hole yourself in the elite area to train, so you don't know what has been going on. Sect leader brought this brat from the outside. He established the elite labor office and took away the inner sex foundation. Your two grandfathers are on his side as well, and now the two sides are at war over the elite spots. Qi Feng and Yu Juan went and made a mess at the labor office at Venerable Shi's orders. This kid wasn't there at the time and the elders and venerables were in a meeting. That's why it worked. They thought that the kid was admitting defeat by announcing a banquet, but look at us now. You call this an apology? It's a killer feast. The labor office is out for blood. Wuxia sighed. I wanted to notify the master about this, but that brat hit me so hard I can't even move. Bai Lian and Chi Changlong were stunned. Their two grandpas were on the kid's side, yet he was still so vicious to them. Then again, the guy didn't know them. Leaving them alive was already mercy enough. That cooled their jets. Bai Lian even felt safer knowing she was on that freak's side. Bringing him into the elite area and having him join the coming Double Dragon gathering would raise their hopes of coming out alive. I must have godly teammate. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan went to the apology banquet where all the guests were seated, be it invited or uninvited ones, all were bloody there. I won't ask. To watch the show. Venerable Qi and Bai sat along with the labor office's oldies in a brooding silence. This had got to be the most humiliating situation even in their lives. The laborers weren't looking any better either. Since plenty of them were outer and inner disciples, they'd now come to regret their decision after being forced to endure such humiliation. In contrast, the audience was eager and thrilled to see this banquet blown sky high and to laugh at their misfortune. Who the hell told you to leave? And for what, a few baubles? Now look at you, no self-respect or dignity to speak of, ha! As for the main guests of today's show, second and seventh elders, oblivious to their kin's gruesome demise, were smug to high heavens, sitting there all cocky. Next to them were the elite's guidance venerables, three fiends of hell, followed by Guehu's group of four. It had all started with them and they were now here to make a public apology. That was the reason for staying so close. Though their savage looks and stern faces seemed to say otherwise. Second and seventh elders got smugger the more they saw their bitterness. They were aiming for an explosive reaction, or how else could they finish them off? As for those intersect oldies, they looked on with cold attitudes, waiting for the smoking gun. The stage was set, the curtain raised, ready to drop it on labor office for good. Venerable Qi, Venerable Bai, we've been waiting for a while now. Let's start. Second elder looked around with a smile. Venerable Bai dismissed him. Steward Zhuo has yet to come. Steward Zhuo, a nobody laborer? Seventh elder mocked. Oh, how the elders and venerables of labor office have fallen, needing a disciple to tell them what to do. That explains this banquet, ha. The intersex oldies joined him in laughter, despising and jeering the labor office's people. Now that the labor office had lost its dignity, its people were tasting the humiliation as well, making even inner disciples disdain them. They would have slapped them dead at any transgression before, while now, they had to stew in anger from having even these brats mock them. The humiliation was so heavy they even came to regret defecting. Rotten Zhuo Fan, you've just lost all our dignity in one night. The labor office's oldies cried injustice and cursed Zhuo Fan. Venerable Qi was boiling with rage, yet said, Steward Zhuo established the elite labor office and sect leader appointed him as the head of this establishment. We must all obey him. The feast cannot start without him. As an apology banquet, he should cater to our needs and wants. Yet a mere laborer has set up this banquet and still makes us wait for him? He has no intent to make amends. We don't answer to labor office and don't have to follow your rules. If you still want to wait, that's your problem, but we are intersect elders. Get the banquet started or we're leaving. Second elder slapped the table as the intersex oldies chimed in, there's no point to such a fake apology banquet. Let's just leave. We'll report this to the sect leader as well for wasting our time. Venerable Qi and Bai shook their heads in defeat. Kuei Lang's group was getting angrier by the second. Only the three fiends of hell were trying to lighten the mood, with Fiend Yang recounting his revolutionary history and great deeds. People, if you find this boring, I shall recount our days in the Double Dragon gathering while Steward Zhua is away. In those days, 4 fiends of hell led the brave elites to the Double Dragon gathering. Wait, hold, stop. We're not bored, not one bit. You don't have to enlighten us. Everyone cried before Fiend Yang got too much into it. Damn rotten Fiend Yang has brought up this story for 800 times already and still calls it some frickin' secret. There's no one more outrageous than him for sure. Fiend Yang sulked at their obvious refusal and drowned himself in wine. Fiend Gui and Fiend Yin chuckled. It was then that a disciple shouted, Steward Zhua has arrived. Chapter 592, Apology Gift. Chapter 592, Apology Gift. All eyes turned towards the entrance of the valley. A thin figure skipped over, with a humble smile on his face as he lowered his head each time he met people. Sorry, I'm a little late, ha. Second and seventh elders' eyes shone with disdain. Is this the guy that has the elite labor office in his grip? He might have shown power in the intersect competition, but he won't get anything done without a backbone. He must be shaking in his boots to resort to such a humiliating banquet. Every oldie of the intersect and even some of their disciples mocked him. While the labor office side's faces were burning red hot, from shame and remorse of being humiliated with this guy. Even so, they did find it strikingly odd how the ever-decisive and oh-so-wise Steward Zhua had turned into a sap. Zhua Fan sported the same warm smile all the way to the front table and bowed. Many apologies. I got delayed and ask for your forgiveness. Ha, it's all good. All that matters is that we're all here. Fiend Yang hated Zhua Fan's wimpy attitude but still mediated. One day elite labor office and inner sect shall be the pillars of demon scheming sect. We must put the past behind us. Sure we will. Second elder scoffed inside along with the seventh elder, and they were both grinning from ear to ear. Second elder began with his standard humiliation. Zhua Fan, you've arranged this apology banquet, yet you're the one coming last. Do you call that being sincere? You better make it up to us or you'll never hear the end of it. Aren't we all here? Why are you being so stubborn? Venerable Qi banged the table while the 2 elders bore the same jeering smile. They're about to pop. It's best if you start the whole mess. Seventh elder jived. Venerable Qi, it is your side that has come up with the apology banquet for the wrongs you've done to us. So elite labor office better kowtow with sincerity for their mistakes. Do you have the right attitude? Why can't I feel an ounce of sincerity from you? We will not stand for this outrage and arrogance, and we will go to the sect leader with this. Why you? Venerable Qi gnashed his teeth, ready to come to blows. Zhua Fan dismissed the tense mood. Now, Venerable Qi, please settle down. We're the ones in the wrong. Seventh elder is right, we need to be earnest in our apology. Please sit back down. Venerable Qi glared at him and wished to thrash the punk. Didn't you say it was their fault? Why is it that you are acting like it was our mistake? Those old coots were smug on having a good excuse, and now they are after everything. There had never been a case where a grand venerable was shamed by mere elders. Sighing, Venerable Qi slumped in his chair, while Kuei Lang's group were fuming mad at Zhua Fan. Who'd have thought Steward Zhua would end up being such a coward in front of the elders? Their faith in Zhua Fan was crushed, with the laborers hanging their heads in shame. This is taking the camp by defeating the general, ha ha ha. The inner sect was laughing inside. Second elder nodded in appreciation, his grin so bright. Steward Zhua, we can feel your sincerity, but the real offenders. Not to worry, they will definitely give the elders a sincere apology. Zhua Fan caught on and turned to Kuei Lang's gang. Don't just stand there, apologize. The 4 were shaking with outrage. Second elder grinned inside. That's the pig-headedness I wanted to see. And he made sure to add more fuel to the fire. Is this how you apologize? You better knock that forehead and adulate us too. And maybe, just maybe, we'll buy it. Adulate your granny, you creep. Kuei Lang banged the table, but Zhua Fan stopped him from rising. Zhua Fan squinted. To be honest, it's all my fault. I should apologize, it is the whole purpose of this banquet. If elders wish for adulation, then that is what I shall offer. Steward Zhua, Kuei Lang shouted. Zhua Fan waved him off. The 2 elders pondered as smugness festered on their faces. Well, he is the top dog of the elite labor office. Getting him on his knees will crush the labor office. This was way better than making Kuei Lang's group blow out. Here we are racking our heads on how to make the punk submit, yet he does it of his own free will. Brilliant. Serves you right for messing with fire. The two elders laughed and nodded, as long as you go all the way, sure. Now say that the labor office will never mess with the inner sect and elite area again and we'll call it even. Sure, just don't regret it. There are many elders and venerables present. Zhuofan clapped back. The two elders nodded like winners. Of course, we are prideful elders who will never pick on laborers. I knew I could trust the elders' sincerity. Zhuofan switched tunes right then and there. His face took on a heavy look, like kowtowing was an ordeal. Kuei Lang's side knew he was trapped in this humiliating scene but still shouted. Steward Zhua, I'll do it for you. Sir is the head of the labor office. You can't lower yourself. What will it make of the rest of us? No, let me. Steward Zhua saved me and the least I can do is take Steward Zhua's shame for myself. No me. You've looked over Yuer for so long. Yuling, why is a woman fighting me over this? I'll do it. All of them were fighting to take Zhuofan's shame. The two elders were sullen though, to find that Zhuofan was seen in such high regard after only managing elite labor office for a short amount of time. He could even make these proud talents fight over who was to take this burden. Inner sect lost against him in this regard. They only know how to kiss ass. This place must not survive any longer. The elders shouted, quiet, will you? This is Zhuofan's matter and he must take responsibility for it. I will not rest until I see him banging his head 3 times. The others shook and their hearts sank. They figured out these two were out to get Zhuofan by all means necessary. They couldn't care less for some disciples. Zhuofan shrugged, see how much the elders care about me? Now don't fight any more since I am the one to blame here. Zhuofan let a snicker slip out as he watched the audience before stopping on the elders with an apologetic smile. Elders, I deeply regret my actions and ask for your forgiveness. To show my deep sincerity, I've prepared a gift and then I shall kowtow. I never knew such a masochistic and spineless fool existed. Wasn't it our 2 brats who challenged the labor office? How did it turn out in our favor? But if he insists on a gift, we can't just let his sincerity go to waste. That would be bad manners. The elders snickered. Zhuofan's hand shone and revealed 5 boxes. 3 he gave to the fiends and bowed, I hope this will help atone the harm that came to your disciples. We all know who's to blame here, so why must you debase yourself so much? 3 fiends of hell shook their heads and Fiend Yang spoke, this gift is your promise to us, but we understand more than everyone. You don't have to apologize because you represent the entire elite labor office. Ha, I shall bear that in mind. Zhuofan bowed. Ka. 3 fiends of hell looked at the glorious light spilling out from the boxes, taking in the thick spiritual energy and their eyes bugged out in shock. Everyone else cried, 9th grade demonic treasures. Chapter 593, Both at Once. Chapter 593, Both at Once. 9th grade demonic treasure? The 2 elders' eyes twitched with greed and hope. The dazzling light show coming from the boxes blinded them. They had heard how the elite labor office was filthy rich, but seeing was believing. This kid took out 3 9th grade demonic treasures and by the looks of it, they are top quality. The fiends traced the baubles in their hands, astounded. The elders' hearts skipped a beat and they turned to Zhuofan's last 2 boxes. The brat can fake kowtowing if it means getting our hands on such priceless demonic treasures. It's all worth it. Zhuofan snorted inside and tapped the boxes. The 2 elders were dying to know what's inside those boxes by now. They just had to have those shiny and marvelous trinkets. Yet Zhuofan milked the suspense for all it's worth, until they couldn't even sit straight. Only then did he say, Elders, I will ask you one last time. If I kowtow and apologize, will you leave this matter be? As elders of the sect, our word is gold. Now hurry up with the gifts. 2nd elder didn't do well with patience. 7th elder's eyes never left the boxes, his brain on the fritz. Zhuofan grinned and offered the boxes, haha, then if you would please honor me, elders. Ka. The 2 were already eager to open them, but what they saw stopped them in their tracks. Everyone was curious too, while Zhuofan shed his humble smile to replace it with a more sinister expression to match the mood. What treasures could have them so lost for words? Fiend Yang asked. Peering over those boxes had him shocked as well. Now that baffled the audience even more. Just what divine items are those boxes carrying? Fiend Yang stammered, heads. Chi Feng and Yujuan's heads. Say what? Everyone was floored. Everyone knew those 2 elites, Yet here their heads were served in neat little boxes for their respective grandpas. Is he suicidal? They turned a stiff gaze towards Zhuofan, whose savagery was laid bare. He did it on purpose. He is a lunatic and psychotic to taunt the elders so much. And to think we took him for a wimp before, when in fact he has the biggest testicular fortitude of all. Well, elders, is my gift to your liking? Zhuofan drove it in like he had done them a favor. Zhuofan. The elders howled like wraiths, their eyes were bloodshot and they exploded with power. The fancy decorations and gourmet food around them was pulverized. Gui, whose side cried out as they were blown away. Venerable Bai and Qi rushed over to Zhuofan's side to shield him while giving him stunned looks. What's wrong with this kid? When he acts, he shakes the world. Just now they were thinking he was some poor sap so puny they felt like beating him themselves. Though that persona was shed in an instant when he slaughtered others' kin. No elder or venerable of the sect would resort to this madness while he did it in passing. Just what is going on in that head of his? Everyone lost all contempt for Zhuofan, and their hearts were now filled with fear. He's deranged, the worst enemy to have. Now, don't tell me the elders find my gift short. Zhuofan scratched his nose as he smiled, after I poured my heart and soul into it. Even went to great lengths for the elders to be able to hug their grandchildren. Or I'd have thrown those heads to the dogs. You. The elders roared, exploding with bloodthirst and desire for revenge. Fiend Yang intervened before things got more dangerous. Now hold on, we must first get to the bottom of it. He began, Zhuofan, tell me the truth, did you kill them? But they were in the elite area. Yep, what else did you think this apology banquet was for anyway? Zhuofan chuckled, I went to the elite area bright and early, snatched a couple of heads, then rushed back here. That's why I had to apologize to you, venerables. Forgive me for making a scene in your area. But since you've forgiven me, all is good. The second reason was to apologize to the elders. Sorry I wasted your kin, though I do hope you can look past this. Why you meant to apologize for this? Fiend Yang cried. Everyone was in shock. You mean to tell me Steward Zhuo ran late to the banquet because he was rampaging in the elite area? And he made it just in time to apologize, I mean taunt. Freaking crazy. None could believe their ears that a laborer would go so far. Zhuofan smiled at Fiend Yang. Ha, venerable, why ask when you know already? Didn't these brats cause a scene at the labor office? It was not our fault, so why would we apologize for it? I held this banquet for the sole reason to apologize to everyone. Haven't I been clear enough already? I'm embarrassed that I had to harm your disciples. But I thought you meant tying broke Yujuan's hand? Fiend Yang was dumbfounded. Zhuofan snickered, did I do that? I've personally come here to apologize, but since you said there's no need for it, the elite area matter is now closed. Don't tell me you're going back on your word, not with so many elders and venerables around. The fiends' faces twitched and they looked at each other with dumb looks, thinking how they had played right into his hand. This brat challenged their elite area and killed their wards, yet now they've accepted his apology with smiles on their faces and a few trinkets in their pockets. What about them? What apology did you have in mind for them? Fiend Yang grumbled at Kuei Lang's gang. Zhuofan lied on the spot, they're guilty of being weak. The only reason these brats could make a scene was because they weren't strong enough to stop them. But like I said, their fault is small while I'm the true criminal here. Don't you listen? Cut the crap. Second elder blew a gasket. You had planned for this all along, mixing both of them to gloss over your actions. Do you think your ridiculous excuse is gonna fly after murdering in broad daylight? I'll have your head for this. Oh, but you did promise that you'll let this slide with a few bumps on the floor. As if. I'll have you torn limb from limb for what you've done. Second elder roared and the seventh elder growled as their power exploded. Venerable Bai and Qi were on guard, but Zhuofan merely shrugged, couldn't be better. Now I don't have to kneel. Insidious rotten bastard, die. Second elder shot for him with the seventh elder right behind him. The huge amount of power came at him in waves. Zhuofan squinted and put on a calculating smile. Venerable Qi and Bai interfered and pushed the two back, warning, you're forgetting your place, elders. Think about the consequence of breaking the sect's rule for attacking a disciple. Your granddaughter didn't die, so of course you don't care. Second elder glowered, do you think you can defend the punk forever? Clap. Zhuofan gave a slow clap as he stepped forward from behind the venerables with his trademark evil smile. Well put. I feel for the elders' love for their grandchildren. Why don't I give you two a shot? As per sex rule, a lower status person can attack a higher status person without fearing the consequences. I killed your grandchildren within the purview of the sex regulations. Now it's your turn to be challenged, so if you manage to tear me limb from limb afterwards, no one will get to say a thing. The two were stumped and the audience was in shock. A disciple challenging an elder? That has never happened before. No one in their right mind was that suicidal. Venerable Bai and Qi were floored by Zhuofan's decision. Deal? The two elders agreed before anyone else could interfere. Zhuofan snickered, then both at once. Chapter 594, 2 against 1. Chapter 594, 2 against 1. Have you lost it? Everyone watched Zhuofan in shock. The damn punk doesn't give a rat's ass about anything. Doing and saying whatever he wants. Those right there are ethereal stage experts while you're just a fresh radiant stage laborer. Is death that enticing? Zhuofan, Venerable Bai started, but Zhuofan chuckled. These poor elders just lost their kin. The least I can do is get their hopes up. Venerable Bai sighed, you're not giving them hope, but your life. It's fine. Besides, everyone here can attest to my integrity and kindness. It all comes down to having what it takes to take it. Zhuofan grinned, I just love getting these pesky coots, who always keep butting in my affairs, hopes up. Then crushing them, haha. No matter how much Venerable Bai and Qi were against it, there was no point crying over spilled milk. Since he was so cocky in his skills, why not just let them sort it out themselves? The fiends were still annoyed that Zhuofan went over them and challenged the elite area. It was a wonderful contradiction with their fondness for talent as they hoped he'd grow up to his potential. However, the sex rule left them hopeless once the challenge was made. None could interfere in this battle. All watched on with eager looks. In one corner were two very influential elders, in the second and third layer of ethereal stage that could pop a radiant stage cultivator with a snap of their fingers. The challenger was the ineffable founder of the elite labor office, Steward Zhua. He had them wondering what act he was playing this time. From the moment he threw the heads at the elders, some astute oldies noticed he was taunting the two to this exact moment. But what good would getting them berserk do? Which made this fight all the more interesting. Hee against a pipsqueak, 2 is overkill. Second elder spat. Seventh elder, may I take revenge for your granddaughter? Having you join in will give him too much credit. Seventh elder was totally against this idea, but he still nodded, fine, just make it quick. Obviously. Second elder saw Qi Feng's head once more and roared, Fenger, I will have your revenge. Second elder flicked his hand and unleashed a terrible soul wind. The audience tensed. That's an ethereal stage expert soul attack which no yuan qi or body could withstand. Kuei Lang's group knew what Zhuofan could do, but even that fell short against a soul attack of this magnitude. Then again Zhuofan didn't care. He just gave a dismissive wave like swatting a fly and the attack was no more. Second elder was dumbfounded, how the hell? The audience even more so. Since when could a fresh radiant stage cultivator just shirk off a high and mighty ethereal stage expert soul attack? Unless he has a soul form too. That's the only explanation he's still alive. But that's even more impossible. He just reached the radiant stage. Everyone peered at Zhuofan to find his secret. The two elders noticed Zhuofan's creepy smile and their hearts jumped. Seventh elder, this kid's strange. While I attack again you take his head. Second elder sent. Seventh elder nodded as second elder shot for Zhuofan with an even bigger soul pressure. New novels chapters are published en free Webelt CM. Common sense dictated a radiant stage cultivator would have died by now from having their soul crushed. Yet Zhuofan took it like a champ. He just stood there as if second elder's soul pressure was but a cooling spring breeze. Second elder turned serious as he waved his hands and a fire sea ignited around Zhuofan. Inferno. Venerable Bai cried, second elder's soul is the fire element and that is soul fire, nothing physical can affect it. The only way to withstand it is with a strong soul. What do we do? Isn't Steward just a radiant stage cultivator? How can he withstand a soul fire? Yuling panicked. Kuei Lang's side was tense. Just as a cool voice came from within the raging fire, Divine Eye of the Void's fourth stage, Space Crusher. The shockwave ensued, clearing up 100-meter sphere around him with a bang, everything crushed to nothing. The soul fire stood no chance in this absolute domain. Second elder faltered 2 steps, shocked and blood coming out of his mouth. The appearance of Space Crusher annihilated his soul fire and in turn, gave his soul a deep scar. Yet he could hardly believe a punk was capable of such a feat. How did he? The rest were too out of it to react. A fresh Radiant Stage cultivator just wounded an ethereal stage expert. That's unheard of. They gulped as they watched the smug Zhuofan within the fire. He's a monster with total confidence in dealing with the elders. That means the challenge was made on purpose to target them. He's after. Everyone shivered. The labor office's steward didn't do it to get back at 2 disciples, but to get the elders' heads. SSS. With a gasp, the audience realized the sheer scope of his ploy. Everything had been done to bait them, including this so-called apology banquet, to kill the elders in plain sight. They saw Zhuofan's right eye glowing with 4 golden halos and shook. Since they were elders, not any challenge would be accepted on the spot. These 2 were victims of circumstances, forced into a corner without realizing that gave Zhuofan the moral high ground in dispatching them for all to see. All held Zhuofan in fear and respect. Not just disciples but elders and venerables as well. The kid's mind was more twisted than the oldies. Grinning from ear to ear, Zhuofan only cared about one thing: killing. His right eye shined golden once more. Divine Eye of the Void's first stage shift. He bam-fed right in front of his quarry and unleashed a palm attack. With a draconic roar, the palm felt like a dragon claw of outstanding might clawing at Second Elder's chest. His attempt at using his soul fire to defend proved feeble as the sheer pressure left him gasping. How am I feeling soul pressure? Why you formed your soul? Second Elder's heart cried out in disbelief. Just a Radiant Stage laborer and yet had a soul form like an ethereal stage expert. And to make it worse, the soul form was even stronger, putting pressure on his own. Chapter 595. No one's going anywhere. Chapter 595. No one's going anywhere. 7th grade demonic treasure, Soul Eater. Second Elder figured out he was getting the short straw when it came to using his soul to attack, which rendered the ethereal stage's defining ability useless. Left with no choice, he'd fight the old-fashioned way. There was no way his larger Yuan Qi, thanks to his ethereal stage cultivation and the help of the 7th grade demonic treasure, couldn't chop the punk up. Fighting with fists against a Radiant Stage cultivator was utterly ridiculous for an ethereal stage expert. However, everyone here knew he was forced by circumstances. But if there was one thing Zhuofan prided himself on, it was his body. Coupled with his sturdy Qilin arm that no tool could scratch, that 7th grade toy was nothing but a toothpick. Grinning from ear to ear, Zhuofan said, "Second Elder, allow me to send you off to your grandson." Hi, ghostly dragon claw. Roar. The draconic roar added to the Qilin's glowing arm, amplifying the strike. Suddenly dozens of wind blades came for Zhuofan's back. The soul vibe from them spoke volumes. The attacker was an ethereal stage expert as well. Glancing beyond the wind blades at 7th Elder, Zhuofan smirked, uncaring as his claw continued. Clang. The claw and sword clashed, letting out sparks, followed by the sound of the sword cracking. With a bang, the 7th grade demonic treasure broke like a twig under Zhuofan's attack, and as it reflected in Second Elder's horrified eyes, it struck home. A simple groan came as blood and gore spurted from smashing Second Elder into a pulp. The area reeked of blood within seconds, staining the ground and sending a shiver down the audience's spine. It was one thing to guess Zhuofan's master plan and another to see it executed with such ease. The brat went and frickin' done it. Whoosh. A blaze came from the pile of red goo, flying as fast as it could from here. Having cooled down, Second Elder knew he'd been duped. Everything Zhuofan did was a meticulous effort to take their lives. It hadn't even been 5 exchanges and he was already down 1 body. He was filled with regret now for his raging temper. It only spoke volumes of how insidious and cunning the kid was. Now, his only chance was to get the hell out of here and under Venerable Shir's wing. One day he would have his revenge. He noticed Zhuofan's cold eye behind, his intent to chase, though the wind blades had to be addressed first. He'll have to choose between getting wounded and chasing me or defending himself. Second Elder's soul regained his confidence, finding the time to monologue. "You haven't seen the last of me, brat." "Oh, but I have." Zhuofan smirked and fixed his eyes on that red flicker flying away as his right eye shone golden, Divine Eye of the Void. Second stage, Void Annihilation. Whoosh. Second Elder was struck by something invisible, piercing his soul and tearing him apart from the inside. He was gone before he could even announce the agony he was in. The red flicker was gone from this world. Second Elder's dead. Thanks to having formed his soul, Void Annihilation affected the metaphysic as well, soul included. Zhuofan's pearly white smirk was chilling to the core. Rip. The sounds came from his surroundings as the wind blades found their target. They tore his clothes and were just a hair's breadth from striking his body. With Second Elder taking his focus, he had no time to spare the attacks any attention before they were upon him. Second Elder's death came as a great surprise for Seventh Elder, of joy. He used this tactic to attack while the kid was busy with Second Elder, so there'd be no way to cope with two sides coming at once. Yet the brat was so vicious he forewent the sneak attack and went to deal with Second Elder for good. Though in this way left himself open for the soul wind blades. No matter how tough he was, it was bound to hurt him good. Second Elder, die knowing you helped me get revenge for you, hee hee. A bit too soon to celebrate, however, since Zhuofan was still alive. He wasn't about to let the guy have his way, or the great steward would be ridiculed to no end. Zhuofan spoke, blood blade. Hum. The sharp wind blades and their sharp ringing stabbed him with pain, but then a red light came from his body and crushed the wind blades before they touched him. It then sped straight for Seventh Elder with impunity. What the hell is that? The old man was startled by it and sent another wind blade. Yet it just kept coming. It entered his body and made him shiver as blood leaked from his mouth. This isn't a soul form, just a radiant stage soul attack. He never knew such an insidious soul attack existed, so strong it matched his soul form. What kind of monster is this kid? Seventh Elder was racked with fear. Zhuofan was an abomination shrouded in a thick fog of mystery. Everything he got from Zhuofan till now only scratched the surface, and he bet it was all bait to lure the fools and conceited idiots. Seventh Elder shook at the sight of Zhuofan and ran. Second Elder got done in like nothing even in the third layer of the ethereal stage. He stood no chance only in the second layer. Without any preamble, Seventh Elder threw away his dignity and bolted, all to save his life. It always paid to live and die another day. He understood this saying the best, especially now, caring about nothing but fleeing. Didn't he just see Second Elder monologuing in his flight only to get cut short? Respect mattered, sure, but even that paled in favor of keeping one's poor little life. So he ran. Though Zhuofan was even faster. Whoosh. Zhuofan was barring him in a flash, thanks to a nifty little golden halo in his eye. Haha, Seventh Elder, aren't we fighting? Why are you running away? Zhuofan grinned and struck his chest. Seventh Elder put up a tough front. Zhuofan, you dare kill an inner sect elder. I got the sect's rule on my side. Killing you is nothing, so take it like a man. Besides, I already killed one, so what's one more? Zhuofan sent another ghostly dragon claw to splatter him on the ground. Seventh Elder learned from Second Elder's misfortune and knew resistance was futile, so he abandoned his vessel as the attack came. He used his meat suit as a shield to fly away unharmed in soul form. Chapter 596, Pep Talked. Chapter 596, Pep Talk. Bam. While Seventh Elder was fleeing, he smacked into something out of the blue. It was a bloody infant, though the creepy aura and the faded body made him shiver. What the hell is this? Seventh Elder sent dozens of blue wind blades in response. A fierce whirlwind formed, one that could rip a soul apart, and it shot for the blood infant. Blood infant's only reaction was contempt. Hi hi hi. With a burst of creepy laughter, blood infant glared back at the incoming attack. A sharp blood ripple shot forth and crushed the wind blades like they were nothing. Seventh Elder's blue soul shook. This is the thing that helped Zhuofan last time. But what is this thing? How precious must it be to unleash soul attacks? The kid has many tricks up his sleeve. Seventh Elder got nowhere in figuring it out as the blood infant charged for him. Blood infant was as fast as lightning, swallowing him under the shocked eyes of everyone. He scrambled around blood infant's stomach to get out, but each time he made the skin bulge, it would just return to normal. Blood infant was a spirit of this world and capable of unimaginable things. Seventh Elder was now in it, and even as a soul he had no way out. It was just like a soul prison. The audience was freaked out. Some of these demonic cultivators reared their own demonic creatures, but they were all physical beings and unable to harm one's soul. But Zhuo Fan's blood infant showed them how mystical demonic creatures could be and what gave him confidence. It was like having an able partner all the time, with both him and the demonic creature unleashing deadly attacks. This display earned everyone's envy. Just how many gadgets is this guy hiding? How is it he keeps taking out greater and greater things? With a freak like him, the only thing he'd come with is freak demonic creatures. Whoosh! Blood infant flew back to Zhuo Fan, and like a good hunting dog, it spat out Seventh Elder's soul before going into Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan grabbed the blue glow and snickered, run as fast as you can. That's why I let my demonic creature out earlier to intercept you. So, did you get far even after ditching your body? Steward Zhuo, please let me go. I will never come at you again. Haha, I'm sure you won't. Seventh Elder was at his mercy, and he could do nothing but beg, though not like it worked on Zhuo Fan. At the kid's killer smile, Seventh Elder resorted to threats. Do this and you'll make an enemy of the inner sect. Enemy? Humph, you're sadly mistaken. It's you who made an enemy of me. He paraded the soul before the labor office's people. This is our turf and this old coot is threatening me with that? Tell me, are we pushovers? No. Venerable Qi and Bai shouted, taken by the mood as all the resentment dripped off them. The entire labor office roared with one purpose, one mind. This was their steward, Steward Zhuo of the labor office. A disciple with more testicular fortitude than anyone, killing elders and anyone in his path. This is a hero to follow. The oldies from the inner sect alternated from blue and green, about to flip against Zhuo Fan. But the sight of the entire labor office roaring had them threatened. Zhuo Fan's victory brought back the dignity and glory the labor office lost. Attacking now when morale was high was suicide. To say nothing of the devious Zhuo Fan playing by the rules, or more like making sure the rules were on his side. All they could do was walk away in silence, engulfed in the flood of shouts coming from the labor office. The outer and inner disciples were stumped. The labor office was like a dead fish just now, yet Steward Zhuo injected them with courage with just one win. They watched Zhuo Fan in awe at how he flounced Seventh Elder's soul around, a mocking smile on his lips. It was one image they wouldn't soon forget. Zhuo Fan faced the soul again. Seventh Elder, what do you think, is the inner sect reliable? Aha, all of us are selfish. The labor office now has enough people to stand up to you all. None of them would stand up to fight for you either. Do you know why? They fear me. Today I challenged you and killed you, and tomorrow I will go for them. I'm just a laborer and the rules are on my side. Tell me something, do you think they'll accept my challenge? Zhuo Fan's smile turned sinister. Ha, you two were fated to die to make a statement. Now those fools won't be so jumpy. Inner sect elder is just an empty title, it won't protect you at all. Once it loses its worth, you'll be thrown away. The blue wisp shuddered and fell in abject despair. Inner sect elders were respected, but that applied only when alive. They lost everything the instant they died. At the end of it all, the only one reliable was yourself. Unable to understand this simple truth, these two were sent to the slaughter. Not that anyone foresaw this apology banquet would turn bloody or that a fresh radiant stage laborer would kill them like lambs. Demon transformation art. At the downcast blue wisp, Zhuo Fan knew Seventh Elder had lost all motivation. Zhuo Fan enveloped the wisp in black energy and refined him. It was then the prismatic heaven dragon in his mind opened its dazzling eyes. By forming his soul, Zhuo Fan could use demon transformation art on souls to increase his own. It would speed up his cultivation a lot. Easing a breath, Zhuo Fan watched his empty palm and revealed a grin. He turned to the labor office's people, are you still down now? They all shook their heads, bearing excitement on their faces. Ha, you're on my side. Your loss is my loss. And I am one who will get back at them for it. Zhuo Fan nodded. The people looked at Zhuo Fan with starry eyes. However, Zhuo Fan changed tunes, you're weak. You just got challenged once and look at you, crying all over like children. I've decided that all laborers shall do what a laborer does, sweep and clean. Don't think about running, not even the ones from the elite labor office. For God's sake, you got too cocky after just a few days and forgot who you really are. The disciples were startled, but their smiles still remained. Venerable Bai's group chuckled. An expert should know when to retreat, lose and win. They wouldn't achieve anything losing their heart after one setback. especially now when some of them wanted to leave the labor office. It had to be removed and not let it fester. Zhuo Fan had them learn humility and determination, to not break in the face of adversity. Though it only worked after Zhuo Fan's pep talk. No one would have listened to him before his win, not even the elite labor office. The venerables saw the inner and outer disciples watching the thrilled laborers and smiled. Zhuo Fan has great charm and is meant to do great things. He will become the next sect leader. Chapter 597, Worth. Chapter 597, Worth. What are you all staring at? You saw them ask for it even after I went to such lengths to apologize. I even had their well-being in mind when I challenged them to not get the sect's punishment. How is it my fault they were too weak and died off? I've done it by the book and in an open manner, so glare elsewhere. Zhuo Fan noticed the stink eyes he got from the inner sect's oldies and shouted, "Keep this up and I'll challenge you." Whoosh. The threat worked like a charm and all those malevolent glares lost their target. They all saw what Zhuo Fan could do and from the looks of it he had it easy just now. Zhuo Fan didn't even get to take his soul out to play, giving them no way of guessing his limits. The unknown held the greatest fear, especially when a soul showed its true power when it came out. So no one was about to mess with a freak that left two elders as nothing but smears on the ground. Though it didn't save them from resentment. So damn strong, yet only a freaking laborer is outrageous. One just had to look at him the wrong way and he'd smash them dead. It was the least this law-abiding disciple could do to uphold the rules. Hey, that rule about challenging a superior holding no consequence for both parties shouldn't be left gathering dust. There will be tough times ahead of us. These oldies conflicts were all handled within reason. Now this freak showed up and he was just a mere disciple whom no one wanted to do anything with. It was a guillotine hanging over them waiting to drop. They sighed. It was the inner sect's turn now to be humiliated, to be pissed on, and no way to be able to deal with it. The labor office looked at them with scorn, and even the outer and inner disciples had contempt. The labor office is still the best by the looks of it. The inner sect is off its game. Whoosh. Zhuo Fan landed and Kuei Lang's group came over with glee. Steward Zhuo, you're so strong. You're truly the best disciple in the sect to even swat ethereal stage experts like flies. Kuei Lang gave a thumbs up. The others bobbed their heads. Zhuo Fan dissed them with a smile. First, cut the ass-kissing. I saw your long faces before. Did you actually think I'd apologize for their fault? What? They all sheepishly scratched their heads. Haha, Steward Zhuo, since you didn't tell us. You'd have let it slip. Zhuo Fan cut Kuei Lang off. This great scheme of mine was all psychological. To make those two take the bait, I had to unbalance them. It worked to allow challenging and weakening them easier. Consumed by anger, I bet they didn't even give half of what they could do. You think it's that easy to kill an elder once his soul is out? Playing mind games is the best solution. The swift shift from glee to anger to grief did them in. Thanks to you, I had them reach the highlight of their happiness, setting the stage for me to come in and smack them down to earth and fall for my ploy. Demons come from the heart, always remember this. Yes. The four bowed. Kuei, who was still frowning behind them, Steward Zhuo, you should know why I've come to the labor office. Where am I to begin training my heart? It was first Chi Feng that told me I was weak because of my weak heart, then you come and tell me one grows weaker as their heart's in chaos. How then? I'll tell you here and now, the heart isn't trained but tempered. Zhuo Fan's tone was serious. Zhuo Fan saw his doubt. The heart isn't cultivation, using spiritual energy to train your soul and body. All its levels come from insight and experiences. Without experience, there will be only ignorance and no way to come to gain insight into the world. That is the meaning of enlightenment. The world is filled with people going through a wide range of experiences, which makes everyone's hearts different. Does that mean I'll never be able to train it? Kuei, who didn't want to give up. Zhuo Fan pondered, I'll be honest with you. I never cared much for you, so never mention this little secret. You are the product of your environment, the same applies to your heart. Following wise people will give you insight, but how much depends on you. You should stick closer to Elder Yuan instead. What could a bone-tempering old coot possibly do? Kuei, who was stumped. Zhuo Fan's finger moved left and right. Ignorant fool, Elder Yuan is a man with a vast wealth of experiences. He is wise and thoughtful. Here I am going to him many times to debate the world's meanings, and you're just taking him for granted. Learn to appreciate things. Besides, do you really take him at face value? Humph, the only reason I'm kind enough to explain his worth is that you're on our side and did so much for the labor office. Gui who tried to blink the confusion away without avail, though one thing he did get. The old man is more than he seems for even such a great talent to speak of him like that. Senior brother Guihu, the old guy is quite nice. Go to him. Gui Lang spoke. Guihu asked, how do you know? Because nothing he says makes sense to me. Guihu's face fell. That makes him more of a wise guy than a wise man. How is that logical? Though Gui Lang made him exclaim, though Steward Zhua can understand it, that's why I think we're far from the level of these two. Guihu gave a solemn nod. Master told him Zhua Fan's heart was in high places, and since Elder Yuan came at his recommendation while Gui Lang bearing witness, the old guy ought to have some use. He might have something that can help me with my heart problem. Guihu ran for the labor office. Steward Zhua and everyone, see you later. The others chuckled and Zhua Fan laughed. This guy's so simple, quite like elderly. I knew ages ago he wasn't cut out to be a spy, yet I still watched him all this time. I still have a long way to go to reach the fourth stage of human nature, or I'd have seen through his worth at a glance. I'll need to get more experience under me, haha. Don't be modest. More experience? Any more and you'll become a demon. Fiend Yang laughed, coming over with the other fiends. Gone was his grumbling hearing Zhua Fan messed up the elite area and was now beaming with joy. Sonny, you're a tough one. Facing two elders alone and still killing them. Becoming an elite and joining the Double Dragon Gathering will definitely get us among the middle three sections. Your feats will become legends. Fiend Yang patted his shoulder, though Zhua Fan's face was cold. Sorry, I don't do well with being elite. How can? Fiend Yang was stumped. What are you playing at? This fight alone sets your status in the sect. Now no one will object to you entering the elite area, yet you refuse? Isn't this the whole reason why Wuxia brought you? Zhua Fan smiled. Xia Wuxia had me over for Double Dragon Gathering, not to be an elite. How else are you supposed to participate? The elite area's sole purpose is to rear disciples for the Double Dragon Gathering. Then you'll just have to change the rules. The disciples going to Double Dragon Gathering will only be from the elite labor office. None of the others will come from the elite area. Zhua Fan shouted his conviction. Everyone was baffled by him. Zhua Fan scratched his nose. When all is said and done, it was the elite area that taunted us, even if instigated. I've said that I'll take back the labor office's glory and I will. First was the inner sect, and now all that's left is the elite area. Didn't you all say we're not worthy of becoming elites? Fine then, to join the Double Dragon Gathering, you'll just have to come to us and do menial tasks. Though it's up to me to see if you're worthy of being a laborer. How can you say that? We didn't say anything like that. Why should we pay the price for those two brats' crimes? And aren't they dead already? Fiend Yang advised, Zhua Fan, your amazing talent has us on your side, but learn when to back down. I need to be tough since it concerns my disciples' dignity. Zhua Fan said, tell Xia Wuxia if he accepts, I'll join Double Dragon Gathering. And if he refuses, I'll just stay here as the laborer's steward. The fiends' faces fell while Gui Lang's side was awed. He's the best manager the labor office has ever seen. Going as far as to talk back to the powers that be for them. That's why those four scheming demons follow him. It's not just their interest in him but his worth too. Chapter 598, Worth. Chapter 598, Worth. The trio turned apprehensive, not wanting to accept Zhua Fan's request yet unable to refuse. Zhua Fan was an irrefutable participant in the Double Dragon Gathering. It was his worth none of them could ever replace. Steward Zhua, congratulations, this time the entire sect will hum with your name. I bet tomorrow will be busy for the labor office with its new recruits. Aha, even becoming elite will be a cinch. None of those inner sect oldies will make a peep. Venerable Bai praised. Venerable Qi said, I bet there's no one else like you in the 9 sects to kill 2 ethereal stage elders as a disciple. You've topped them all. The disciples must be worshipping you by now, their role model. They'll all want to get closer to you. We had to work hard to get those that left back so they wouldn't offend you, hee hee hee. The other oldies of the labor office nodded, all a smile. Zhua Fan gave a thin smile back, turning to the fiends, as I said, I won't enter the elite area. Though venerable sirs can do what they think about my conditions. Zhua Fan grinned, spun on his heel and walked away, not before flipping a nasty smirk back a few steps after. By the way, your elite disciples are in a world of pain, you know. Shouldn't you be hurrying back? What? They all cried out in shock, noticing Zhuofan's gaze. Oh shoot. They forgot the kid burst into the elite area, and there was no way he'd take it easy on anyone. Venerable Qi and Bai's grandchildren were still there as well. Everyone was anxious. Steward Zhua, were you that hard on them? The two were even more concerned than the fiends, but they also grew nervous at the prospects. While no one liked those leeches, they were the strongest disciples of the sect meant to go to Double Dragon Gathering. Zhuofan just shrugged. Lighten up. I'm not one to get rid of anyone I do not know, or I'd be making too many enemies for nothing. Though not too easy either, or they could have just gotten up and reported me. Whoosh. Venerable Bai and Qi shot for the skies in panic, followed by other venerables and elders with kin in the elite area. On the other hand, the fiends eased a breath the minute Zhuofan assured them they were still breathing. Fiend Yang-eyed Zhuofan, we will consider your condition. The rules the sect has been built upon for thousands of years aren't changed overnight. No matter how great a display you pull, some rules just won't bend. Haha, people make the rules. And they will change as long as the people want them to. Zhuofan threw a box with a snicker. Venerable Fiend Yang, take this to Xie Weiwei with the words, a favor for a favor. If he can't do it, return it. Fiend Yang's face twitched. This is plain bribery. Is it that bad? Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. With you at the top of the sect, you have priority in taking your pick from the pile of wealth. Who can ever bribe you? You finally have me, the magnate, here to get a little something at long last. If you don't want it, then return the earlier demonic treasures as well. Take the elite labor office as the enemy of the elite area. I don't need peace. Now wait a sec. These matters aren't the same. You beat our disciples and apologized. That ends that. The fiends glanced at their storage ring and the trinkets they got and didn't quite feel like giving them up, rethinking Zhuofan's proposal and the demonic treasure within this new box. It was part of Zhuofan and Xie Weiwei's agreement to annex the elite area and make the labor office the only faction, though it didn't come with outright acceptance from the three. When he fought the inner sect, they didn't give a hoot no matter how many burned or how many fell, since the cream of both parties would end up in the elite area. Now Zhuofan wanted the elite area abolished, aiming for their bread and butter. No matter how much they cared for the sect's future and liked Zhuofan as a talent, no one would be that happy to throw away their livelihood. We're digging our own grave. Should we just take these treasures for ourselves and leave Weiwei to decide? The trio pondered a good while, then nodded with a sneaky smile. They not only came out one treasure richer, but they also had a way out. We're not as selfish as the inner sect to block the sect's growth. We will leave it to sect leader to be fair and just in his ruling, to avoid despicable methods such as bribery. Zhuofan grinned. Sugarcoat it with as many excuses you want, it's still selfishness. You need but take this single step and you'll be falling in the inner sect's footsteps. I held my end of the bargain, and it's up to him to decide what to do with you when you stole his gift. The trio shuddered and faltered, covering the fear with anger. Are you a mind reader? Haha, of course not. All I see is your greedy eyes, oblivious to anything else. Zhuofan added, no gain satisfies a greedy mind. One wrong move and death awaits. It's best you think this through, sirs. Ha ha ha. Zhuofan left with a laugh, the trio lost at what to do and looking from the box to themselves. Are we just going to give this to Xie Weiwei and dig our elite area's grave? While they were at an impasse as to what to do, a mile out, Xie Weiwei saw everything. The kid just entered the radiant stage and already formed his soul, so strong too, an abomination. Since I last saw him in Chanyu a decade ago, he has become a new man in character and strength. But this will only make the demon-scheming sect's rise come faster. He's a true gem. Xie Weiwei was full of praise for him but scowled as he eyed the three fiends of hell. Don't tell me the fools are going to take Zhuofan's respectful gift for me for themselves. I even came over to see if the kid could handle the elders, lest everything would go to waste. You better be damn sure you three bring me that gift or else. Xie Weiwei squinted before leaving. Venerable Bai's gang stepped into the devastation around the elite area, and the disciples were strewn about. Each of the oldies found their target and breathed easier the next second. They're only hurt. If they died, with how savage Steward Zhua is, the sect will run with blood. Liener? Changlong. Grandpa, we're here. As Bai and Qi called out, Bai Lian and Qi Changlong replied. The two went over and breathed easier too. Inner organs are shaken up and only sealed vessels. You'll be back on your feet in a few days. The kid was truthful. He only killed Qi Feng and Yu Juan. Bai Lian hugged Bai Lian. Venerable Qi nodded. Old Bai, should we have these two go to him? He has to know his allies or the next time he flips. With his glorious reputation now, making friends is the best thing for these children. Venerable Bai's eyes flashed. Bai Lian asked, Grandpa, you mean that wild beast? The venerables nodded. Venerable sirs, he wrecked the elite area and breached the rules. You should uphold the sect's laws and not let him off. Wuxia was outraged. 2 elites are killed, and the 3 venerables won't stand for it. Venerable Sure will surely make use of it and fight. Sirs will do well not to make the wrong choice. Venerable Bai laughed. What a foolish disciple. What do you think the rules are for? To raise the strong. With enough worth and strength the sect itself will pave your way. As for the 3 venerables, they must be grinning right about now from the demonic treasures they got from the kid. As for Venerable Sure, his 2 prized helpers, the 2nd and 7th elders, were challenged and killed by the kid, in plain sight too. There's not even the chance of getting revenge. With the inner sect's elders and venerables cowering, who will stir up more trouble? No way. Bai Lian, Wuxia and Qi Changlong gasped in disbelief. Venerable Bai shook his head, disciples all the same yet so much above everyone else. He twisted the rules to his will, and there's nothing you can do about it. His worth trumps anyone else's. You better sit down if you know what's good for you. The 3 were speechless. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.